what happened?
I don't know. I'm gonna be taking a look at that. Anyway, this is a new setup.
How
So
many
I'm just
people you got
here.
coming in? Do you
Here we
know?
go. Well, we are already live, I believe. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Break the Rules stream. I am your host, Lev Polyakov, aka LevPo on Twitter, which you could see prominently being displayed on the bottom over here because I'm working on the new layout right now for Free for All Friday. I have no idea if it's gonna work out or not. We're gonna see. This is all an experiment today. And with me is Giovanni Panacchietti, aka Giant Geo on Twitter. Please follow him if you have not already, and he is pumped full of fire from the very gods. And of course we have Luke Valentine joining.
Yo.
Luke Valentine, the amazing artist, creator, lover of beautiful women. And we have a couple of other people over here in the bottom. We have got Charles Kahn and Quasi. So let's say if you guys could add some avatars. I am not sure because I want you to be presentable as well. Right now you are just two names, but I want you to be presentable. So could that happen or not? If not, that's fine.
I was looking into that. I don't think there's an option.
So here's what you do. You have to register for a Zoom account and then go out and then go back in with your Zoom account email, and then you're going to be able to have the avatar that you put in the Zoom account. So if you guys want to try that, we can do that. Anyway, once again, all the new people in here, don't forget to subscribe. So Gio, let's get us started with what you're so fired up about. What's going on?
Well, let me just let me pump it into the chat what happened to me today, hence why my account is locked. But let me just no, just what's been happening lately. It's like, I don't know, I was thinking about what to say, and now that it's finally here, it's just like, damn. But I notice people are Alexander, why did I lock Twitter? Well, I locked Twitter because Movie Bob responded to my eloquent tweet, which totally flew over his head. But let me find it for people. I think people are collectively losing their shit, and the discourse around what's happening is like to be expected.
The whole year has been like a giant Frank Hassel experiment.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel whether or not you want to. Oh, I can't. Let me just.
No, everybody who is a citizen. By the way, everybody on our Discord who is a citizen, you can now post links. Links and images. So again, this is a privilege. It is not a right. It is a privilege. Don't abuse it. And there we go.
Oh,
so, Movie Bob, what's going on here? So guide us through this.
So he's responding to my tweet I made where the New York Times was lamenting over the shelf that apparently held books of women in politics. And it was really important, symbolic that these evil fascist right-wingers that invaded the Capitol, that they hate women so much that they knew that even though the shelf was empty, they knew it. So it's really one of these pseudo events that they just concocted out of thin air. And people were dunking on it. So I made this tweet about it, how this woman died, got shot in the face. But then Movie Bob is like, well, they're the terrorists, so they deserve it. But it really begs the question. It's really one of these sort of mass social shit tests, whether you view them as seditious terrorists or you view them as people who, as the founding fathers intended, fighting for their liberty in a highly contested election. It seems that people are finally admitting that politics is becoming a religion. There is this one tweet by this hideous troll that I forget her name, Vor something. I'll look up the tweet. Basically, Vor something. Let me look it up. Basically admitting that politics is like a religion now. And so it's really crazy, the discourse around this event, and guaranteed people are going to have their lives ruined over it. The media, it's funny, the media doing the job, as Glenn Greenwald pointed out on Twitter, the media doing the job of the FBI, helping actively dox people. One person was fired from their job for just attending the Trump rally. And it's really something how, for now, attending a rally of a sitting president is enough to get you unpersoned and fired for good. And I don't know, it's just really, things are going crazy. Things are crazy out there, huh?
The amount of people The amount of people who are like straight up like saying, "Hey, look, identify this guy. Let's contact the FBI." That was pretty alarming. That was disturbing. Like the FBI is nobody's friend. I don't know if like.
Oh, and by the way, we have a super chat. Real quick, we have a super chat, $5 from Prague. Geo spittin' right now. There we go. Geo spittin' right now. And also, I just want to say that.
Oh, another thing I want. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there were casualties on both sides. So there was Brian Sicknick, who was one of the guards, which, from what I understand, the police said that he was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. I don't know what the fuck is going on, because on one side you have boomers who are coming in there, and they seem to be like lost students, in the museum or something.
Weren't they following the red rope, that like little red rope in the entryway? They were all walking within it looked like a field trip. It was
very strange to see that. Like, what kind of a crazy terror attack?
They were like, "Whoa,
walking through the ropes." Like, there's parts of it where it looks like, okay, yeah, these guys probably shouldn't have went in the office and done what they were doing there, taking pictures. And I'm hearing different things about guys stealing stuff.
Apparently, Nancy Pelosi got her laptop stolen.
Yeah, there's also been reports of dookie spread around different offices. So these
Apex is here. Apex.
Well, there seems to be like a mix of two different. There's like two different energies going on here. Oh, and we got Apex in the house. What's up, Apex?
What's up, guys? How are you?
And we have Quasi as well. My chat image here is not working out, so let me adjust it for everybody so everybody fits in well. So when it comes to this
hideous troll, like, look at her. She looks like the Wicked Witch of the East, saying that for many, the Capitol building is a religion. I saw this other tweet as well about someone saying that they've sullied the Capitol building. I'm sorry. If you've looked at all of the legislation passed and you look at the countless millions upon millions of dead bodies and the rivers of blood and the human despair caused by those very same politicians throughout the decades who have passed legislation in the House chambers. I'm sorry, but as I tweeted, it's been sullied more than a bordello on a Saturday night. Okay, there's no way you could sully it more. But I'm glad that this Wicked Witch of the East, what's her name? I'm just pacing myself. Amy Vanderpool is apparently a writer for some rag. It's just saying that, like, for many people, this is a religious symbol. Now, and by the way, I want to have a very special call out. Shout out to my friend Mythic on Twitter. He used to be Among the Ruins, but he pointed this out about the religious theory cells. I want a very special shout out to all the Catholic and Orthodox theory cells that are jumping over themselves to denounce this, like Rod Dreyer, saying that, oh my God, this is terrible, and all this. It's funny, the same people that preach against Americanism, in especially the Catholic theory cells, the same people preaching against Americanism are suddenly embracing Americanism and saying that these are sacred spaces of the American Democratic Republic. Like, it's just so ridiculous. And here's the thing. I don't care. Even if BLM did this, I think that, again, it's not about, because it was Trump, unfortunately, it's bad optics, whatever. And unfortunately, a lot of grifters who went there polluted the whole thing, who shall remain nameless. Big Alaska. And so those people, they unfortunately sullied this event. But I truly believe that if you divorce this thing from the MAGA movement, it is indicative of the future, which will be people that are dissidents, who are against the establishment, and people who are for and benefit from the neoliberal order, and who will literally ruin people's lives who are going against the current order. And all of this talk about the sacredness and dignity of American democracy, it's all, I'm sorry to say, I'm sorry, I know this offends people, but that's all fucking bullshit, because those people have ruined it. And people crying over politicians who are scared, the same people that, millions of dead Iraqis, millions of dead Afghanis, millions dead from the opioid crisis. I'm fucking sorry that some politicians were inconvenienced that day. I'm so incredibly sorry. So I'm just going off, Lev. I'm very.
No, Gio, I agree. I agree entirely.
Sorry. So I'm sorry, guys.
Like people were like, this has ruined America's moral image. Like, really, this is what has ruined our moral image.
Yes.
I mean, it is a strange situation that, again, like, you know me, Mr. Neutral, when it comes to all this crazy shit. So first of all, I want to say I want to introduce Philip Daniel over here, trying to not get in the way of the green screen.
Yes,
Philip Daniel, thank you so much for coming in here. And also we got the great Metaphor Man, who I would love to hear a metaphor from regarding all of these things that have been occurring.
Shit biscuit.
Yes, hell yeah, Shit Biscuit. Well, we have Shit Biscuit, we have Masked Bastard, we have Charles Kahn, we have Quasi, he's back, and I'm going to put his Twitter handle in here as well. All the wonderful people who are watching this right now, don't forget to subscribe, and send this to all your fucking friends. May they all prosper. So anyway, what I want to get to here real quick is, again, you know me, Mr. Neutral, when it comes to thinking that, you know what, maybe it's not a bad thing that there is this structure that some people do have somewhat of a belief in. That doesn't mean that there can't be changes to it, let's say, from within, from, let's say, getting new blood in there to, be able to rearrange things over time. I just don't want things to get to the extent that there actually is going to be a lot of bloodshed in the United States, you know? So if there is any other way of doing it to solve the problems that people have
there
today,
are no
that's what I would do
more
first.
political solutions. I'm sorry. I'm not going to Fed post. I promised myself.
Well, Philip,
no
Philip, you're the newcomer here. What do you think? And tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, I am a young composer, a music theorist, a writer. I am affiliated with Justin Murphy's Indie Thinkers group.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And I actually composed some intro music for his podcast that he used on a few episodes. That's my main claim to fame right now. Now, 2020 was a very prolific year for me musically. I churned out a ton of music, but and mostly chamber music. So, and I, expanded my, I guess you could say I expanded my stylistic and technical boundaries quite a bit over the course of the year. I'd love to discuss that with Gio sometime in particular. But particularly as I've been exploring certain techniques that are commonly associated with the Second Viennese School in particular, and I know of his fondness for Arnold Schoenberg's work, a fondness which I share. But as far as the recent political events are concerned, to put it simply, of course, I worry about the coming quashing of any oppositional stance of any dissent from the woke centrist or woke corporatist consensus. And I would like to think that my own views are fairly milquetoast, are fairly mild, fairly classically liberal, but I'm sure that I am due for cancellation at any moment, so I ought to be prepared for that.
Well,
I think that although these events will reverberate, they will gradually recede from the consciousness of your normie, although this will obviously be used in the manufacturing of consensus by our elite institutions and the shaping of norms, which your average Anglo-American will be unable to resist. I think that there will be other events in the future, certainly given how quickly now that history moves apace. I think that there will certainly be other events that will eclipse this. This is just the beginning. But I think that, like many other events that enter the news cycle, it will gradually recede from consciousness, at least in its particulars. So,
No, that's
That's what they want to
quasi.
happen.
Gio, can I say something based off something you kind of said before? And that I kind of forgot what you said, but the idea is that this is basically the start of what many people have been predicting, which is that it's going to be punishment for people who supported Trump. You know, a duly elected president. It's going to be this something sort of unprecedented in American politics, though. You can see it in a lot of poor countries, less developed democracies, that people after this are going to be like punished, like jail time for supporting Trump. Because the idea is, if you're supporting Trump now, you are traitorous. You're committing treason. You're trying to support some guy who's trying to hold power when he doesn't deserve it.
But how would that work in a nation of lawyers? Like,
What do
that's
you
what
mean?
I'm still confused about here, because we still have a nation where people sue each other, and
I
also where
think
people
that
hire defense lawyers.
we're gonna get lucky that our court system is so absolutely dysfunctional. You know,
Well,
no one's
yeah.
gonna end up in jail. They're just
I'm
gonna
not saying
end up
if
in
you
court
voted
for the
for
rest of their
Trump, you're going to go to jail. But what I am saying
No,
is
I know
what
you- yeah.
AOC said, which is, we should start making lists of these people.
But
Yeah.
again, these are the
Could be a little
people
bit
like
more than
AOC. These are the extremists. These are not the milk toasters.
Well, I don't
So
think.
when
But is she really an extremist? Because she has such an immense following in American politics.
I also, I
exactly.
think that it's
Well,
infecting
Yeah,
out
and you-
into
Well,
the.
let pause. Finish your point, and then. Sorry,
Yeah,
I know.
sorry.
No problem.
Well, and if you turn on the TV news, what do they talk about? Like, I was watching the news was on today, and I saw like, it was like half of the time they're talking about the options to get Trump out of office immediately, because he supported this like coup basically, which is
It's not
ridiculous.
good enough that he's leaving in 2 weeks.
And it's a symbolic
you know,
thing. Yeah.
what's going to be in 40 years, what's going to be in the history book about the 2020s? It's in 2016. It's going to be Trump was elected. He was horrible. He was racist. It's not going to be written in English. It's going to be in Neo-Latino Arabic. But and that and it'll be a paragraph, and at the end of the paragraph is he tried to stage this coup. These QAnon people, these wacky people who believed pedophiles have power. You know, tried to siege.
Well, hopefully President Jalaluddin
yeah.
Rodriguez will
The
have
third.
The third will have yeah. But no, it's sorry, I cut you off. No, but that's I think, and to tie that in with Philip's point, which is a great point about the news cycle, how basically people have been inculcated because we live in internet time. And I think that term has more meaning than what people think, in terms of the way it's reflected our consciousness. No longer do we live in some ways, I guess you could say we live in like a Bergsonian like moment, like event, but it seems that that's going into such overdrive. It's like, I don't know why he was popular for a time, but Paul Virilio, he talks about this with Speed and Politics. He was popular around the Iraq War, but it seems that it's really, as things get, his thesis being that as things accelerate in terms of speed, in terms of communicability, war becomes the primary edifice of all relations. So the info war and the physical war, the economic war, because war is what is this delivery of kinetic force. And now we're seeing more than ever the info war. Sorry, and Apex, you had cut me off.
And real quick, we have $5. We have
I'm just
$5 from
Gio is just
Byzantium
pissed.
Archon. So $5.
I wanted to talk
Byzantium
about this
Archon.
one person that doxed her mother. Anyway, so
God.
$5. Byzantium,
Yes.
good friend of the show, Byzantium Archon.
Gio, you should upload a video on your channel where you just talk about the bad capital siege takes.
Oh, I should. Yes.
What are these capital siege takes, for those who don't know?
Well, just like people I've been screen capping that have the hysterics over this, I guess. That'd be a good video. I was going to do a video about how they want to explode the relationships between Zoomers and their parents, even more so than millennials, with this tweet that I'll share. But I wanted to really hear the thoughts of everyone in the panel. So maybe Apex and then Metaphor Man, Shit Biscuit, friend. How are you, my friend? Sorry, I'm just tripping over myself. Apex, please, come on, go on. Apex has been writing up a storm on his Substack. Lev, if you could link his Substack into the chat. He just came out with his Blue Empire piece today. a part of a series explaining the concept of the Blue Empire. Yeah, he's been on fire this past month.
No, I mean, basically, like, Blue Empire effectively is kind of what Philip was describing. Those institutions that they dominate media and academia and big tech and all of that, and they're basically the ones that are the narrative generating and propagating machines. And in terms of Virilio, like, one of the things that's interesting is if you conceptualize this as like a kind of physical space, that things are getting closer in information space while they get further away in physical space. So you have this very interesting and weird virtualization. And like, it's just, you're watching these media organizations, and it's just, where do the narratives come from? They're just made up out of nothing.
A lot of it is pulled out of their ass.
Yeah,
that's true.
But at the end of the day, what's the goal for a lot of these milquetoast organizations? Because there was a comment earlier on talking about how it's not really the milquetoast people who end up causing a lot of changes to happen, but it is the milquetoast people who end up subverting those changes and creating just like a state of quote-unquote normalcy, which maybe the quotes aren't even required. Because like we were talking with Alexander Bard yesterday, the establishment wants there to be this certain order and that everything goes back to normal, back to business as usual. I wouldn't imagine that Anderson Cooper would want to live in North Korea either. So that's why if we're talking about what exactly does the establishment want, Gio, you were making a great point about psychological, like a psychological hell that people get into today. But if we take that away for a second, just focus on what do these people want. I don't think they want a communist dictatorship, at least like the AOCs, they want that. But the milquetoast people who end up subverting, Occupy Wall Street, end up subverting any cause that comes about, they don't want that. At least I'm pretty sure they don't want that. So is it necessarily as horrible as people make it out to be? People are tweeting about, who's going to get top bunk at the re-education camp. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I in the wrong here?
It's not so much what the average voter thinks. It's what these politicians think.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the voters. I'm talking about primarily the establishment here and what they want.
Mm-hmm. Well, they support. They're bought out, so they support whatever their This is not a novel take, but they support whatever their donors give them. And they believe in this ideology that basically has no limiting principles, this total utopia, everyone sings hula la, and so there's no end to this, the George Floyd stuff. There's no point at which this will ever be perfect.
You're talking about two things, though. You're talking on one hand, people who are, very pragmatical as far as we go in there, we get the donations, we get all this money from corporations. And on the other hand, you're talking about idealists who want to create a communist utopia. So it can't be both. I mean, maybe it can be to a certain extent, but people are going to.
Well, it's not communist. It's obviously capitalist. But
whichever one it is, it's still like some kind of mechanism to create a utopia. So if somebody's taking money from these corporations, I doubt they are thinking about utopia. They're thinking about making money.
Well, the racial stuff plays into their economic goals. It's used to justify immigration, which drives down wages.
Yeah,
sure.
And
I'm just saying I don't think they're believers in it. I think that a lot of them are just doing it for the sake of...
I think most people are now. I think 99% of people believe this nowadays.
I think quasi... So I actually wrote about this in my Blue Empire thing, which is that I think that what begins as cynical signaling eventually transforms over time into, it's like you wear a mask long enough and there's no longer a mask, it's just you. At a certain point, you've become so socialized to this thing that it becomes a value. You live it out, and then as you're living it out, you learn to internalize it. I mean, really, the thing is that when you look at, if I tried to sum it up in like one sentence, which is like what Blue Empire effectively stands for, it's like you've got cosmopolitan globalism alongside economic policies, which are just used as a way to increase people's autonomy. And autonomy in and of itself is liberal. There's a reason why you scratch the left and a liberal bleeds, you know? And so there are a lot of true believers. Like, I really do think that over time, like in the 70s or 80s, it was probably entirely cynical. But over time, you know, on the one hand, you have people becoming true believers. On the other hand, when these companies only see pushback from one side, like real pushback, like, yeah, there's conservatives who whine on Twitter because they're babies, but they don't ever actually do anything. There's no boycotts or anything. There's no in-person protests that much, at least not until maybe the last year or two. And so when the company's just like, I'm just going to go the path of least resistance, and then anyone who disagrees in the company just keeps their mouth shut.
Yeah, but that's different from being a true believer. That's being practical when it comes to not having too much smoke and fire around your workplace just so that you can go home and eat with your family and not have to think about all this bullshit. But
sure, but that's how it starts.
Sure.
And what's the difference? What's the outcome difference? What does it matter whether
Okay,
they
I'll give
believe
you
it
an
or not?
example. I'll give you guys an example. In the Upper West Side, you have a lot of people, you know, like the Samantha Bees of the world. You have a lot of people in the Upper West Side that were not too thrilled with the homeless people.
You had to remind me of her existence.
Sorry about that. Everybody subscribe for the sake of Samantha
Fuck you,
Bee.
Lev.
Be yourself. Be yourself. Anyway, the people on the Upper West Side, they were not too thrilled with the homeless people who are now going around their turf doing drugs, you know, flashing and doing all that stuff. So what did they do? They sued the city. They sued the city of New York for letting these homeless people be around them, basically. And these are, you know, like Democrat Party donors and all that stuff. So when it comes to the practicality of what kind of society do I want to live in, you know, you could say like, you know, one thing for me and another for thee. But I don't think they're true believers in the sense that they would, you know, let their kids play with this homeless guy who's sniffing glue. You know, like they understand that there is a difference between them and the homeless people.
The hypocrites, which is someone who believes one thing and does another.
Sure, but I don't know how much that belief is for show and how much is it real. I understand the points you guys are making that slowly it ingrains over time inside you, but how do we know this to be the case and not the other, and not just them putting on an
How do you
act?
know how anyone believes anything?
I don't know. Well, that's the thing, because we're making assumptions here, which may be true, but it's kind of like a Schrodinger's. I'm not saying it right.
Schrodinger's
cat.
Schrodinger.
Yeah, Schrodinger's true believer. That's kind of what I see this as right now. And I'm not really sure how to go about finding out whether or not it's correct or not.
That homeless people example is actually really good. It kind of like what happened the other day where it's like they're forced to like not only interact with, but you know, like these people asking for food, asking for money, they have to like, God forbid, smell them as they walk by to their triple, you know, $200,000 a year council job that they do nothing at. It's kind of the same thing what happened in Washington, because all these people who make these shitty laws and do nothing are actually forced to, you know, interact with their voter base. And you have people like Lindsey Graham, you know, a lot of people in the House.
What a wretched worm.
Yeah, well, all these fucking traitors, right, who just threw them under the bus, and they actually like forced to be around them for once, and they're freaking out. Like, I don't know, you guys have seen the video of him trying to walk to I think it was in the Senate. Yeah, and then they're just calling him a traitor. That was so great, man.
Well, I think now is a good time. What do you guys think of Trump's response? I know it's like really
deep fake
black pill moment.
Well, I was gonna get into that. Like some people were saying,
because of the head, the collar.
There's a weird thing there. Yeah,
the lips.
I don't know.
I think like here's the problem with spreading that type of like
there's a lot of cope involved in spreading
that's actually you stole the words out of my mouth.
Sorry, Gio.
I don't like I mean I think like for example, I just tweeted before the show about like how Canadians are wanting this politician fired for wearing a MAGA hat. I think like myself, I don't have much faith in Trump. I think at least for the past few years, but at the same time, I feel that the people that viscerally hate him are demons. No, I mean, well, I don't know. I feel that demons. I mean that I think that Trump has no choice, obviously, but at the same time, a lot of his followers are going to continue to be, as you pointed out, as people in the panel pointed out, a lot of his followers are going to be persecuted after this. And I think that, was it the best idea to storm the Capitol? No, probably not. But is it a symbolic... My good friend Lady Astor, friend of the show, said that in the long run it might be a symbolic victory, but in the short term it looks like a horrific, like Seville type of event times 50. I think
Seville, like CW Seville.
CWC. Oh, yeah, Charlottesville. Well,
it's,
maybe Richard Spencer has to go to CWCville, and Chris Chan will come out as the mayor, and that will be something.
Dimensional merge.
Yes, that's the dimensional merge we were talking about this whole time. Conscious Moss, aka the Lioness, aka Nala. So.
Finally, you're on the show.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm only here with the promises that Amon is learning a special harmonica solo for this, to soothe my anxiety later.
I am very appreciative of that, because the last performance, he said he was in a little bit of a crabby state. So
he did.
Yeah, now it's going to be a lot better. For those who don't know, by the way, Aman Sadhu, he is a $50 patron, and you guys could also join him in being a patron to break the rules. I know I mention it all the time, but it is damn important that I do, because here's the thing. What I want to do with BTR is I want to bring people in here like Jessica DeLoach, who was working for Pete Buttigieg's campaign, and Pete Buttigieg, from what I know, he's now going to be working in the Biden administration in transportation. So what I did is I hooked up her together with Alex Forrest, and they're going to be talking about infrastructure. This is happening this coming Tuesday, but the reason why I do this is I want different sides to talk, especially now. I know we're talking about, traders, yada, 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 whatever. What I want to do, and I'm really serious about doing this, is I think it's a damn shame that all this time there weren't ways for people who are on the other side of the blue empire, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to engage with people who differ from them in views, like a lot of people here. This is one of my goals, and this is something that I'm really passionate about doing, but the only way we can keep doing it is if you become a patron and if you help us spread this through your monetary donations. So
I love how you're guilt tripping them.
Patreon.com/break the rules. This is where you go. And if you become a $20 patron, you are going to get my father Alexander's absolutely beautiful prints. Look at the quality of this stuff. It is mwah. And if you become a $30 patron, you're gonna get that, but also you are going to get Giovanni Panichetti's beautiful, absolutely brilliant woodcut prints. I'm looking for them right now. This is what happens, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in OBS when you have too many things on the screen. Here we go. Patreon prints. Check this out. Check out how fast Gio can do it. There we go. There we go. You could see it. You could see it in action. Well, Gio is actually Sonic the Hedgehog in disguise. That's going on here. So anyway, $50.
I'm trying to throw up one of my paintings my Bob Ross paintings for the $50. Let me find one.
Yes, that is the $50 patronage. That is one of many things you get for $50. You get Gio's beautiful paintings, the Bob Ross Persuasion. You also get my father's magnets, another magnet, and this one is going to be custom. Whatever the hell you want him to do, he'll do it. And not only that, but you also get figures that are going to be painted by the wonderful Jules P. Hamilton. And not only that, but you're also going to get, if you want to, this is just like if you want to, you can also get a printed, printed prints. Yeah, that's what they are, prints. You get a printed, God damn it, you get a printed print of any of the thumbnails that my father drew. So look at the thumbnails on Break the Rules. If you see one of the thumbnails that my father drew, that's what you got to do. I'd
love to have one from the Alexander Bard stream where it was me, logo, Joel, Joel Davis, and that would be a great poster print right there.
There we go, guys. Make it happen, and then send it to Gio as a birthday present. Gio, when's your birthday?
December 23rd. I just had it, but
well, plenty of time then. Plenty of time
next
to get
year.
Next year.
Exactly.
If we're not hauled to FEMA camps already. Well, we had this thing where on Break the Rules, we'll still have Break the Rules on in the FEMA camp, but like we'll get people to hoop the cell phones to like go like when we have different guests in different cell blocks. So we're gonna have someone to hoop them to go. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun times, isn't it? So, Conscious Moss, what do you think about all the stuff we were talking about just now? Have you been you've been following along?
I've been following along, and I'm always right in the middle, it seems, with a lot of my thoughts when it comes to especially politics recently. I have been trying to keep myself a bit away from it. I think it's been causing me a lot of anxiety just with there's so much passion, and sometimes I can notice how much that affects me emotionally. And I think that what upset me the most was when I saw the video of the woman. We found out what her name was. I can't remember exactly what
Ashley Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt. When I saw the video of her being killed, that was a point for me yesterday where I did have to step away, because immediately it became a lot of people on the other side being happy she was killed, and immediately not seeing her as a human, and watching the whole process leading up to it. You know, that woman was standing with so many people and pushing through them for something she truly believed in, whether you agree with it or not. And she died for it. And to then see a bunch of people not even regarding her as a human being due to difference in beliefs, it hurt me a lot watching all of that happen. And I'm just an extremely sensitive person, so I did step away after watching her get killed. But it's a lot going on right now.
It's
No,
a tough
definitely.
piece of tape. That's a
Yeah.
tough piece of tape to look at, because you can see it looked like she was up trying to climb over somebody, and the guy
Yeah.
on the inside shoots.
Yeah.
As there are like 3 or 4 cops right behind her
Yes.
coming up the stairs, and they're all armed to the teeth. The initial report that I had heard was it was a cop from behind that shot her, but looking at it from that angle, like you clearly see the guy fire the shot.
Yes.
The cop
Well, there's-
behind her looked shocked.
I actually
Did you
saw-
see he did like
Well,
a
you can
double
actually
take.
hear on the tape, somebody hollers out, they go flashbang. Like
Yeah.
somebody thought that it wasn't a shot.
Mhm.
Scary times. And I'll say this too, from the people that were storming the Capitol's perspective, they were there trying to stop treason. In their minds, the election had been stolen. Like that was a treason attack.
No, we can't say that, the YouTube thing. So the election, everything
The election
was fine.
I meant the 2016 election.
Yeah, the
Yes.
2016. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they were looking
I think
for
you
some
can get away with it
1872.
once, and
Whatever it
they'll.
was.
You just can't like talk about like make it about like you can't say the gamer word of the T word. Let's go with the Pierre Trudeau lingo. The election was fuddle-duddled. Put it that way.
Yeah, they fuddle-duddled it all right. There was a big fuddle-duddle.
Well,
By the
I
way,
also-
that's when someone, I think it was Nixon, called him an asshole. That's what he said. Fuddle-duddle. So.
Yeah, the election was fuddle-duddled. I feel fuddle-duddled. This whole
Nixon-
week has been fuddle-duddled.
Yeah, Nixon not that big of a fan of the Canadians, I take it.
I also did hear that, she was a veteran that did 4 tours, I believe.
She spent 14 years in the Air Force,
That was it.
about half of her life, and they shot her down like she was fucking nothing.
And then the person that she was, there for, hasn't even said her name. And I just think that the entire thing it's really disgusted me in a lot of ways.
But I think
Well, I mean, on the
this
one
is-
hand,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
Gio.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, no, I mean, I said this right after the election, but like there was, and I had a whole thread where I was like, I'm done with the left, because I watched my friends in a bunch of like group chats, from college and from work, etc., just basically be like, oh, well, the Hispanics vote against us, so it doesn't matter if they get deported. Like, I don't care about them anymore. That was like effectively what it was. And, I'm Native American, like I'm I'm a minority, and it was just like, do you only care so long as I, toe the line? Like, what is that kind of bullshit? And the other thing is, like, Trump was always a piece of shit. Like, he was a motivational aesthetic totem. Like, yeah, he got a ton of people in that weren't there anyways, but he was also probably the weakest president since probably the weakest post World War II president.
Yeah, but
and
I mean, it would be think
is
of how
what he
different
could have done versus like what he actually did. And
Well, think
I
of how
don't know,
different it would have
it's-
been. Where do you remember that? I believe the statement that he made about we're going to go to the Capitol. Where was he? In that case, think of how different it would have been if Trump would have been at the head of all the people and he would have gone in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
He
as far as
never.
optics go. Well, yes,
no,
but
but
like,
he's not.
why did he say we then? Then he shouldn't have said we.
Because he's a narcissist. Like,
Well,
that's just what
I
he is.
assumed watching the tape,
Was a
watching it
royal
live,
we.
I thought that he was going to go and give a speech at the Capitol.
Oh,
Like that was the thought. And then for whatever reason, everybody decided, you know what, we're going to clash with these cops. And then you know what, let's just go in. Let's all just go in there. Like it just something seemed off about it.
There's
He would never
definitely
put himself in danger.
what they're saying
he
now,
would.
where like they were kind of corralled in. That was like sort of like a subconscious thought I had yesterday, where it's like obviously not all of these people are like intended to stage a siege today.
There's some weird footage where cops are like, "Get in here!" Like it's very
Yeah, you can see the guy
it's
waving
very
them on.
strange.
So
Yeah,
this may be like a kayfabe storyline
Yeah.
where they've done this to discredit Trump even further, or if Trump, the more daunting realization, which is if Trump was like actively like they cut him a deal to like not be totally ruined. I don't know. It's really, I think BAP had a good thread, although I'm a bit more pessimistic on the efficacy of Trump the man, because at the end of the day, yes, he is a narcissist and all of that. And I don't know, but yet at the same time, I don't agree with Moldbug's take, where he's like literally gloating over, as much as I appreciate Moldbug's work, his like recent article gloating over this and calling a certain someone, comparing him to Wyndham Lewis. That was just cringe. But I'm not going to name his names. But anyways, I don't know. I'm on the middle with this. I feel that, but Moss, you brought up about the fact that she was a veteran. I think that in a lot of ways that's emboldened verifieds and other glorified bloggers and people within the media sphere to say that the narrative is that if you are associated with the military as a grunt, not like a pogue, as a grunt, that you are like more easily quote unquote radicalized, the way that Timothy McVeigh was radicalized. And so that's the argument that I'm seeing now. Like, for example, Germany, they just got rid of last year, they got rid of like a whole special forces unit because they had like very very weak nationalist sentiments. And it's just, it's just ridiculous. I feel that the narrative being spun, and another narrative that's being spun, which before I forget, Slipknot, before I forget, another narrative being spun is this sort of taking of right-wing language and the people like the dirtbag left people and other Twitter theory cells like Livy Fanon, like basically spinning this as like, we are the real ones that are banned, and we are the ones who are, and the MAGA people, they weren't met with resistance because they are the establishment, and the establishment likes and agrees with all of the things that Trump says and agrees with. And it's just patently ridiculous. I think that it's really, they have to colonize the language that the right uses. But at the same time, I feel that the whole language of the discourse around censorship, especially when it comes to the normie conservative pundit sphere and people like Ted Cruz, that like I feel that it's all just kayfabe, it's all just an act. So you have like people like Ted Cruz that bring up Jack and Mark Zuckerface up on Capitol Hill, and they do this like show of like, so you ban conservatives, so therefore it becomes memeable to the point where people can create memes of like, well, and actually when you look on Google, when you search Google, I've done this, you search up conservative social media conservative censorship and things like that. They purposefully manipulate it to give you the studies that say that they aren't being banned off of social media. But we all know that censorship is more nuanced than just people getting banned. Yes, people get banned, but it's more of the shadow banning and the pushing of results and things that are consciously harder to prove than just like this dog and pony show of people dragging, like Ted Cruz dragging Mark Zuckerface up on Capitol Hill and asking him questions. And it's like people get tired of this. And again, this is the Phillips point, is that people are tired of it and the news cycle gets exhausted from the same important thing, but yet people will move on and they'll say, well, it's not really a non-issue because they debated it. And so this is how they manufacture consent, by strategic outrage, but also strategic boredom is another thing that gets overlooked. So yeah, but it ties into this because they will use the same talking points of, well, actually, when you point out BLM burning cities, actually, look at what happened just now. It totally discredits the right, as if Seville wasn't enough. But you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's kayfabe. I mean, it's probably, I don't want to speculate, obviously, because we're black pilled either way, but I don't know. It's black pills on all sides.
Well,
so,
I'm going to propose not a black pill, but a purple pill. The purple of, I don't know if confusion or fantasy or Maya or whatever the right word here is. Just like this purple vortex we're in right now of not really knowing what's going to happen. Like the title of this show today is It Ogre Edition? And I think it is far from Ogre. It hasn't even begun yet. At least this is my suspicion. There's just like this feeling in the air that whatever we've seen right now, like things may change and just may become very, very different in a very short amount of time. And it seems like the happenings are just increasing. Now, maybe that is something that we tell ourselves because we've become addicted to the happenings, just like there are some people who are longing for a return to normalcy and see somebody like Biden, like the Biden administration, as being a return to that kind of normalcy. But I don't know. There is still that feeling that not just me, but other people have. We don't know what exactly is going to happen, but there is this chilling feeling in the air that the process that we're seeing right now with what happened in the Capitol and the other events that have preceded it, that this is just the tip of the iceberg. What do you guys think?
Well, it might not be Ogre yet, but the Shrekkening is definitely upon us.
Yeah, it's not Ogre. I feel like at some point, things are so crazy. Could Trump still hornswoggle a way to win? Is there a way that he has some other card up his sleeve that he hasn't pulled yet?
I don't think so.
Nah.
No.
It's me, Austin! It was me all along!
I think that part is Ogre.
Well, what's
I think
opens up.
Michael Scotto. Do you guys know the astrologer Michael Scotto? He is a regular on the show. He's been here several episodes. His whole thing, I remember I talked to him, was that it's not going to be Trump, but it's not going to be Biden either. And that's weird. Like, what could it possibly... Well, I mean, Kamala Harris, but he didn't say Kamala Harris as well. So, like, that at least puts me in the frame of mind, which is not that horrible of a frame of mind to be, where you just give up in trying to predict what the hell is going to happen and just be in the state of enjoying the ride and taking care of your family, your friends, your loved ones, your community, the BTR stream, and the people taking care of the BTR stream through your super chats. And that's all that you can do right now. Meanwhile, just enjoy seeing what the hell this world is going to be in for, because these times, they don't always come. So let's just see how crazy it could get.
Yeah, 2020 was like a year of just like we're spoiled with happenings,
Yeah.
Coronavirus and George Floyd and just like a million other things. And I really do think like this. You're right that this like siege, whatever you want to call it, insurrection, was the beginning of, because if people forget, 75 million people voted for Donald Trump. That is not something that's going to go away easily. Even if a lot of those people did it reluctantly, there's at least, like 20 million people who are like diehard. They really like Trump. And because to support Trump, you have to be socially ostracized in a lot of ways. So it is sort of like a subculture. in a lot of sense.
Like supporting I remember that one tweet that was popular a year ago about like a crazy world where supporting the president of the United States can get you fired, and it's like this really weird, like bizarro,
Well, I don't think people have been trying that hard in the establishment to understand the people that they perceive to be their either mortal enemy or their social inferiors. Because this, I think, is really the rub here when it comes to them seeing that so many people within the establishment, not only do they not give a shit about them, but they ridicule them, they call them deplorables, all that. And eventually that's got to come to a head just psychologically, just like these people, you know, like they just don't care a tiny bit to even know what my concerns are. And one of the things that I at least try to do here is like, let's lay it all out there for the people who I bring in who are in the quote-unquote establishment to just like explain these are the worst things that people see coming in the future from the policies that you've enacted. Now, they may be wrong, but at least hear them the fuck out. At least try to understand what it is that they're concerned about instead of just swatting it away and saying, oh, like these white supremacists, racist, bigots, yada, yada, yada. It's so tired. It's
by the way, by the way, I wanted to share, let's see. Did everyone see the Arthur Chu tweets? Have any?
Indeed, I was going to bring them up.
Woo,
guy. Yeah, okay, Philip. Well, I posted. Please bring them up. Please, I'll post them. I have them screen capped because
who
feel
is
like
Arthur Chu? I don't know who that is.
Some guy. He won Jeopardy. He became a Gamergate.
I remember.
That guy. That's
he
a
is
blast from the
also.
past.
He is also infamous for his collapsed marriage.
Yes, that publicly collapsed marriage.
Yes, his ex-wife's many complaints about his lack of personal hygiene, which was culminated in the manifold episodes involving ants, including ants crawling on his face. And perhaps in other areas as well. Now, in this series of tweets, if I recall,
I really should have ate before I came on this show. Goddamn.
In this series of tweets, he equates Trump supporters with Yahtzees. See, I'm trying not to take off the. And he said that they should all be exterminated. That they are subhuman and should be exterminated.
Let me read you.
It's very Schmittian.
It is very Schmidt. Yes, it is.
How ironic.
It's funny because Logo responded to one of my tweets. He's like, "Isn't this like Carl Schmidt?" So let's see the first one.
It's not genocide. It's justified, right?
Yeah.
You know, if they're actually subhuman.
Yeah. When a bullet goes through the fatty.
Oh God!
It's pure poetry.
When a bullet goes through a fatty tumor, a Yahtzee has in the space where the human being would have a brain. Nothing is lost. A pile of meat that moved and spoke and acted like a person was made to stop moving, and thus could no longer fool people in thinking it was one of them. So not only are people he disagrees with not people, but I feel that this goes with his materialist, I effing love science worldview, in that the human is rendered into a sack of meat, literally, to be exploited.
By the way, I don't mean to digress, but a couple of years ago, Arthur Chu went on a rant about, Adorno's critique of jazz, and Arthur Chu was under the impression that Adorno admired Rachmaninoff. What? Like, what the hell?
What the fuck?
I know.
He thought it was the worst form of kitsch.
No, like we're talking about the Adorno that was associated with the Darmstadt school with Stockhausen and Boulez in his later years.
Damn. I never knew that about Arthur Chu. I know, like me and you, I know this is like total, like, but it's like, it's just indicative. It's like this one person that said
he's total Midway, or worse than Midway.
This one person writer said that I responded to, saying that the fascists hate beauty and history when Susan Sontag and other cultural critics, I screen capped the shots of the famous essay "Fascinating Fascism," where clearly the problem is that the Nazis and the fascists, they love beauty too much. But that was the 60s cultural critic. So Arthur Chu goes the N-word. It's not that N-word. The Yahtzee is the opposite of a person, and therefore our morality to them must be reversed. To hate them is to love, to harm them is to heal, to kill them is to bring life. So, in other words, this is
strength, freedom is slavery.
This is classic. I know I'm bringing this up again. Classic Giorgio Agamben. To him, he wants to create the homo sacer that is outside of the law, but also justifies the law, because Agamben talks about paradoxes. The paradox being that the homo sacer is an unperson, but yet the personification of the citizenry is justified by the existence of the homo sacer. And so when he says that all morality is reversed when it comes to the homo sacer, therefore, oh, sorry, Charles, you got to bounce. Thank you, my friend, for coming on. Mass Bastard, follow on Twitter. So to hate them is to love, to harm is to heal. Again, this therapy speak language. So this is the creation of the homo sacer, in that all of the traditional rules of morality are then reversed for this category of people, because the homo sacer, remember, cannot be persecuted when you kill them or destroy them. Even slaves in the classic ancient world in Greece, by killing slaves, there were certain consequences. So then finally he says, you should feel less bad. I feel like John David Ebert talking about Giorgio Agamben again. You should feel less bad. I should do the David Ebert hand movement. So you should feel less bad that you do about putting down a rabid animal. In this case, that rabies virus and the host are separate entities. One was the victim of the other. A Yahtzee is the disease itself. So again, the justification for the social milieu is by the unpersoning on the deepest of level. Because remember, the paradox of the homo sacer is the sacred man. That's a paradox. So the people that you hate the most, the people that you cannot be persecuted for killing, are sacred because they prop up the notion of this. They prop up the whole edifice of the system itself. So that is why they are sacred, because they are of a vital importance. And I think Arthur Chu is too much of a midwit to really realize this. But this is like, sorry, I'm just going off right now. I'm giving a mini lecture, so please stop me. I'm just, yeah.
I wanted to get to Metaphor. Oh, I gotta send myself the invite as well, but also Metaphor Man. Any comments, any metaphors about what was talked about?
I don't know, man. I think we're past the point of metaphors. There's just like,
yeah,
like over the past.
This is the equivalent, by the way, of Stefan Molyneux's "The time for arguments has passed."
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, in every sense of the word, I just feel drained by all the events. You have every single thing that people on the right were fighting for like the last 4 years, and they're all just simultaneously being sold out by the same people that were that made the movement what it was. I mean, I just browsed the timeline for like 5 minutes, and I saw people like Ted Cruz. I mean, Trump himself even, has backed out on his own people. What you guys were talking about earlier, he was like, we need to go do this, we need to go this, we need to take our country back. And then when someone actually does, mostly non-violently, I want to say, all of a sudden it's just, nope, we're going to throw him onto the fucking bus so that he doesn't get sent to Guantanamo or something. I really don't understand, why they're all just so quick to do all this. And,
It was non-violently true, but one thing that I would say about the tactics, and again, like, it's easy to talk about this stuff, once everything has already passed, but tactic-wise, I think it could have been done a lot better, because like I said in the previous stream, when you're presenting so many things for journalists to glob onto, if you were to, let's say, apply the same ideas as far as border control and, anything else that you want to implement, but wrap it up and disguise it in such a package that your people, they'd at least see that you're addressing their problems, but you wouldn't give as much ammunition to the other side to rally against you with, then I think it may have worked out in a different way.
I don't think that's true. the people who run the media, they love this shit. They literally salivate at the mouth waiting for people to do this sort of thing just so they can jump on it, claim it was a riot, claim these people were there to, do some pretty drastic things that I probably can't say in a string of words on YouTube. But they try and frame it as it's literally psychological warfare. They try and frame it as this insurrection, as a sedition, as this treason. But did anyone really get the impression that they were going to do that they were going to go in there and like institute their own government and, make sure no one ever returns to the capital?
Yeah,
No,
the Viking
no one
guy
thought that.
will return paganism to the
They're
United
going to
States.
set up the autonomous zone in the capital.
Exactly.
No,
but
they just stood there looking really confused once they got in.
But it's not just that to me, because you're talking about the endpoint. I'm talking about not just the endpoint, but all the things that this endpoint is lying on top of. Like all the comments with, you remember like Trump, doing like that hand thing. And I understand that was taken out of context, but just like anything for them to grab onto and use against him, they did. My only point is, why even use the word rapists when you're talking about anything, even if you're talking about people who are coming over the border who are, let's say, dangerous? That kind of wordplay can be used against you. So my whole thing is, why do that? Why not figure out another way to lay out the same points? And I'm not talking about being like a fucking Ben Shapiro, facts and logic. No, I'm talking about being just as suave and attractive to your base, while at the same time not giving them so many things that Trump has given, the journalists to go against him. And
It was impossible.
Yeah, he wouldn't have riled them up nearly as much if he didn't use the language that he did, and there would be no movement.
Oh, so you're okay. So you're saying that there would be no movement for the same reason for why the journalists reacted the way they did. And
the media was entirely complicit. Yeah, the media was entirely complicit for what happened for Trump getting elected, because they just gave him. They're like, oh, look, he said this stupid thing. Let's keep giving him attention, feeding him attention. That's the only reason why he won the nomination over 19 other people in 2016. Completely unprecedented. It was all because they paid attention to him.
Interesting. So if there were to be somebody who would have come in there and talked about exactly the same things and also did it in a funny way, but being a little bit more choosier about the specific words that they used, what you're saying is that the media would have just ignored them like they ignored Ron Paul, and nothing would have come of that.
Because all the big media stuff you got was from huge, like what they would call gaffes, but were actually very precise, very calculated verbal tactics.
Well, no, that is an interesting point. I mean, I don't know if anybody would have a pushback to that.
Well, because Trump largely was a creature of the spectacle, in that he came from the Hollywood spectacle, but at the same time, they rejected him, and so he knows their tactics. I think that's why they were terrified of him getting elected, because he is, a product of the Hollywood media machine, right? So.
And let me send to myself, I am so sorry myself, I'm going to send it to you right now. And everybody who is watching this, don't forget to subscribe, keep supporting this channel, keep making great. No, I am not describing cuckservatism, because cuckservatism would not focus on the same things that Trump was focusing on, or at least, claim to be the things that he wanted to help the country with. So again, if we're talking about the cuckservatives, I think it could be just as, let's say, virulent, but just choosing the words differently. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to talk about this anymore because we don't really know what would have happened the other way, because it didn't happen that way. But thinking into the future, I'm just thinking if there are politicians who would come out who would have certain things to say about, well, that's it, actually. Hold on a second. If there was somebody who would say things about the establishment, how corrupt they are and all that stuff, then that would already be different than, some cuckservative, wouldn't it? But you're saying then that the media, even then, would just ignore them. That would be the media strategy, would just ignore them, not give them the time of day. Even if they were somebody like Trump, somebody who is well-known and rich, they would still ignore them. I'm just trying to think if there's any other way here.
He got so much attention because of specific things he said. There were half a dozen. We're going to ban all the Muslims. The Mexicans are rapists. These things.
And they're going to pay for the wall.
They're going to pay for the wall. Some of these were his position. Some of these were just kind of I remember he's like, I could go in the middle of Fifth Avenue and
Yeah.
shoot someone, and you guys would still love me. And so there's stuff like that. This is how he got media attention. Was like these specific verbal bombs. I'm going Douglas Adams style right now, or not Douglas Adams, whatever the Dilbert guy is, Scott Adams.
Scott
Scott
Adams.
Adams.
Yeah,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
By the way, I'm still disappointed that this series only got two. The animated series only got 2 seasons. That was the best. That was my childhood right there. The Dilbert series.
We have a
Yeah.
comment from Peter Faust. Fuentes too short. Well, I have an idea there. Fuentes should pay somebody to have Fuentes go on his shoulders or her shoulders, and then they put on an overcoat, and that's who's gonna run.
and
You
it
know?
was
Oh boy.
yeah, it was important also that Trump ran for president. If someone were doing this as governor or a local election city or senator, this wouldn't have worked. He was saying these things, it had to be against Hillary Clinton. This was very, very important. And it had to be, he had to be doing it as president on the global stage. It was a very narrow path, but somehow,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still gonna lean on the old "the devil is in the details" type of things, where, like, I don't know, maybe you could say exactly the same things about, the things with immigrants. Also make it spicy. Also make it something that the media would have to talk about, but at the same time, not make it something that would be able to be twisted by the media as being racist, bigoted, sexist, all that. You say that's impossible. I say maybe not. Maybe people didn't think out a good way to do that yet, and maybe looking at the stumbles and fumbles of Trump's presidency, new people who could come in there who may want to actually change things for the better, they could come in there and they could do something like that.
The entire thing about that, though, is like they're trying to frame this peaceful transition of power into a return to normalcy, but they don't mean return to normalcy as in we're going to stop bombing foreign countries or trying to destabilize governments. They don't give a shit about that. None of that matters. What really matters is the media isn't going to be going around talking about how Joe Biden has dementia because he's holding a glass of fucking water with 2 hands. They're not going to be doing that to him. The whole return to normalcy is just ending the constant stream of hate towards Trump. And they're not going to do that to Biden. That's the whole normalcy.
I can imagine there being a press conference with Biden where he says, you know what, we're not going to return to normalcy. We're going to return to monkey. And he's going to put on the monkey suit. And the entire
World
team
War
is
IV will
going
be
to...
fought with sticks and stones, in other words.
Exactly. And they're going to have like these heart-shaped butts. And they're just going to jiggle it around. And that's when we know the simulation's over. That's when we can get our consolation prize. And,
I would...
Yeah. Yes.
I would describe it as the return to normalcy is a return to the entropy of the preceding decade, or rather it's the continuance of this entropy without any opposition, but it's aesthetically appealing to the PMC, the professional managerial class base of the Democrat Party. So it's purely aesthetic. Because there's no doubt, of course, that Biden, just as Trump continued many of the policies virtually unchanged of his predecessors, Biden will likewise do so.
Well, that's a good thing to actually talk about.
Yes.
What is the difference policy-wise between the Trump administration and the Obama administration? I know some people were talking last time about DACA, that Obama was trying to get that through, but when it comes to what the hell do you do in the situation where you have all of these illegal immigrants in the States and their children who have already lived there for an incredibly long amount of time? Like, what is the best out of the worst choices here to make sure that there is stability? And you can't just find everybody, take them who don't even live in never lived in any other country, and just ship them out. You know what I mean? It's a very strange situation. So I'm not going to put blame on anybody for, trying to figure out what to do here that other people would find fault with, that would not result in violence, because I am not for violence by any means. And when it comes to DACA, that just seems like one possible solution that would have worked here. Because I know like people talk about that as a response to Obama, having this policy of actually deporting a lot of illegal migrants that they find. Now, some people say they come back again, but I'm not really sure. So guys, please refresh my memory here. What exactly transpired there? So if it's possible, let that be the first question. And then I want to find out from everybody, what do you think is the difference? Or rather, like, how many policies are different and how many were the same in terms of Obama and Trump? But let's start with the immigration thing first, because that I've been scratching my head over that for a long time. I don't have all my facts in order. So with DACA and also with the deportations that Obama did, does anybody here, would anybody here like to pick that up first?
Everyone should be forced to duel. So if we basically force everyone in the population to duel each other and fight. So this is violence against each other. I know it's not, you don't like violence, but some form of dueling.
Trial by combat would be right.
Exactly, something like that, or some form of fitness-based test.
Well, before we return to the Bronze Age, does anybody else have any facts?
Fellas, I got to skedaddle. I'm on my way out.
Luke, thank you so much for coming in.
Appreciate you. Thanks for the invite, man. Y'all have a good chat.
Yeah.
Have a good time, man. Take care.
Later, bud.
So, I don't know, Metaphor Man or Philip or Geo or the Lioness, the Sleepy Lioness. Can anybody here help me out here and refresh my memory on what were the realities going on during the Obama administration regarding migration? Because people were talking about, well, he was actually building a wall, but he wasn't talking about it to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, so it was actually something that ended up getting done. And now you have somebody like Trump who comes in here, and he's fucking honest. This fucking honesty gets all the press to start talking about this wall, and all of a sudden everybody's against this wall. Well, if Obama was building some kind of wall back then that people were, not even caring about, isn't that the better way of doing this, as opposed to being so brutally, so honest, so forthright, and this is what I'm going to do? I don't know. I know this is kind of a cynical way of looking at life, but again, it really depends on the extent of what Obama did. Did he do a wall? Did he make a kind of policy regarding migration that, got a lot of people deported who were here illegally? What's up? Can anybody help me out here?
Well,
yes. Go ahead, Joe.
No, Metaphor Man, you go first.
So, everyone on the left was pro-immigration for the longest time. You can go back and find interviews of people like Hillary Clinton, Obama, even Biden himself. They were all pro-immigration. They were all pro-border, keeping illegals out and whatnot. And when Trump came out in support of it, saying that, we need a wall, we need more ICE agents, we need more deportations whatever. Then all of a sudden it was framed as this violently racist tendency, and we need to stop doing that immediately. And then all of a sudden everyone goes 180 and says, oh, look at Trump and having all these internment camps, but they were all built under Obama and had been used for years. I don't think people realize that.
I think, by the way, I wanted to alert everybody, there is a purge going on Twitter right now. They've gotten rid, this is fucking terrifying.
Got their second city bureaucrat.
Whoa, they clipped him?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
This is literally Night of the Long Knives.
Also Emma Teresa, they got rid of her again.
Well, that's a given though.
And I think Indian Bronson is gone too.
They got Indian Bronson.
Yeah,
but I
think Blair Nathan's still up.
Yeah, they got General Flynn. They got Sidney Powell. Basically, Trump administration people. They got another big MAGA account, Code Monkey. They got Ben Garrison. Ben Garrison. Gur Graphics.
Rest in peace, Ben Garrison.
Rest in peace, Ben Garrison.
Holy shit. I almost choked on my rib from that.
I know! Holy shit! Ben Garrison.
I thought Ben Garrison stopped making stuff. He's like a myth to me. He's I don't know. He's just a myth in the ether. He doesn't really exist. He's it's something you put on memes to make them funny.
There is an ethereal Ben Garrison.
You could thank 4chan for that.
Yeah, well, there's the ethereal Ben Garrison is different from the real Ben Garrison. The ethereal Ben Garrison is the most racist, anti-Semitic entity to ever exist.
God, I can't believe it. By the way, someone is saying in the chat about I don't want to name his name. Saying he said that you changed the world, you made it worse. How much things have changed in 4 years? What happened to completing the system? If completing the system, I'm not going to mention that. It's all right. That's just drama. Don't worry about it. So what I was going to say, I was going to lead off with Philip's brilliant point about the aesthetics of the. I think the real period that they want, and I mentioned this about the summer of 2013. They want to go back. Their normal is the sort of rest period, declining years of the Obama administration, where the dream of the post-war neoliberal consensus is realized. Nothing changes except for an intensification of the social consensus. And the picture of I saw someone on the tweet that said, how things have changed in 5 years. And someone responded with Obama White House being lit up with the LGBT rainbow, and now it's like the White House, the Capitol building, and now the Capitol building's under siege by the MAGA-tards. And it's just that is their romanticism. That is what they want to return to. But I feel that they're post Cold War liberal Fukuyama consensus, I feel truly now is a thing of the past, because this isn't going to go away. They will try to memory hole. I truly think the tactic will be them trying to memory hole the Trump presidency rather than maybe strategically bringing it out to demonize him the way that they did, for example, with Columbine for many years after 1999. So if they wanted to, they wanted to get rid of with gun control or Marilyn Manson, depending on what they wanted, they strategically brought out like Columbine and other events such as that. I feel that they want to memory hole this, but it's not going to happen because an egregoric upsurge, eldritch power mediated through politics has been unleashed, and it's just a matter of more smarter people getting involved in these things and actually carrying an anti-blue empire globalist agenda. But I think things are going to get worse before it gets better. I think we're going to have to rely on more personal communication channels. And now that there's a ban wave happening, I kind of knew that they were going to clip the bureaucrat. He's been a craw on their side forever. Frankly, I'm shocked that certain people are still around. But I feel that when Trump gets out of office, there's going to be definitely a lot of bigger people that they're going to clip. Maybe they'll clip Trump for good, too. I mean, Zuckerberg already said that, in order to ensure the safety of democracy, that they're going to ban him till his term is up. I mean, imagine that, a corporation having more power than, we said this last stream, corporations having more power than sitting presidents. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm shocked. I don't know what to say. I don't want to black pill, obviously. But, hopefully these people will come back with VPNs and all that stuff. So,
in a way, this massive corporate power isn't exactly unprecedented. It's a return to the days of the East India Company, and these other overseas mercantile trading companies. The
Banana Republic joke that happened.
Dutch one?
The Dutch East India Company.
Yes, yeah.
The banana, the Chiquita count got banned. Not the real one, the guy pretending to be Chiquita. Mm-hmm. And he made a joke about the Banana Republics, if you know the history. Smedley Butler, the general from World War I, had a book about how they would, if the locals, they didn't want the United Fruit Company as it was
named, massacre them.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
And they would send in the Marines, and they massacred.
Someone's mentioning that fucking today. Jesus Christ, the Banana Republic thing. Weird.
Yeah, and they massacred, I believe, 1 million or so Filipino soldiers or something like that.
What the fuck? Just for some bananas? Fucking hell, they're not that expensive. Come on, lads.
Oh, but back in the day, they were almost like a delicacy, and they were they were basically like diamonds or fruit was a big deal.
Pineapples was a big deal back in the day.
Well, apparently, like in Japan, they have the
SpongeBob's ancestor had to spend a lot of money to get that house. By the way, that's like
in Japan, the melons. They have the melon markets. They're like hundreds of dollars in yen. Yeah.
Imagine if there was. Okay, I'm like okay. I'm okay. When it comes to Japan, they had a Trump rally, didn't they? A very small one, but like
Yes, I saw footage of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know. I just politics is one of these things. Like, why do I'm genuinely interested? Why do people like put so much like thought into politics? Like, I genuinely don't understand. I'm not even trying to be rude. It's like I don't understand because for me,
like
it
we
doesn't
said,
really
There's
get
several
much.
theories. It's an ersatz replacement for religion in a world in which religion has been completely it's been denuded. I'm sorry about the stammer. It's been uprooted from our lives. So
surely trying to find religion is a much more worthy goal than trying to like get hope from a government that fucking hates you. All governments don't like you. You're a fucking statistic to them. Doesn't matter what thing you are. You're a fucking statistic to them.
It's not so much government as ideology.
I hate to interrupt you guys. The fucking president just got suspended off of Twitter.
Whoa.
What?
Real Donald Trump is. I'm looking at it right fucking now.
Sheesh.
Check it.
Oh no. Oh, let me. After close review of recent tweets from Real.Trump in the context around that we have permanently suspended the account.
Don't use Twitter.
What the fuck?
Man. So
I can't believe it.
I get Trump to do gaming live streams now. Are we one step closer?
What do you
to
expect? I mean, of course that's what's going to happen. Like, he's weakest now. People jump on you when you're weakest.
Twitter's
like that is
Twitter's
when
gonna explode right
tear
now.
you down. Like, people tear you down when you look weak. Weakness is provocative. Like, that's just natural order, right? Like, people don't even realize they do it. Like, people that like you will do it. Like, and imagine people that have been stressed about Trump for the last 4 years. Like, they don't even like him. So,
well, they're already cheering in the replies. They are exuberant with all of their sassy Hollywood gifs and Black Twitter gifs. So,
but what was the justification exactly? Like, what was the wording?
They don't really need it.
The wording of the tweets.
It's right.
We
here.
don't like you. Get off our platform.
After
they
close
don't
review.
need anything else.
After close review of recent tweets, real Donald Trump account and context around them, we have permanently suspended the account due to risk of further incitement of violence. Wow.
But why not publicly share the, like, not on the front page, but just have a page where you can go to where they could explain, these are
they do. Let me read a little bit of it. In the context of horrific events this week, we made clear on Wednesday that the additional violations of the Twitter rules would potentially result in very course of action. Our public interest framework exists to enable the public to hear from elected officials and world leaders directly. It's built on principle that the people have a right to hold account in the open. However, we made it clear that going back years that these accounts are not above our rules entirely. I'm actually stunned. A sitting president being banned off of social media, and Facebook, of course, is going to follow. And I feel that the mention of his supporters have a giant voice long into the future, and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way or form is being interpreted as further indication that president does not plan to facilitate. Oh, so you mean that Trump might get off his ass and use antitrust laws against you? They're trying to spin this that the supporters are going to, I don't know, target Twitter employees or something. Plans for future armed protests have already begun proliferating on and off Twitter. The use of the word American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violence. Wow, this is stunning. This is like,
wow.
Do they think this is going to work?
I can't believe
this isn't going to work.
Wow.
Whatever their plan is, it's not going to work. Because the Trump supporters, are just going to they're just going to support him more now that he's banned off it.
No, but they're trying to do this again. This is the plan. They're trying to say that the language itself, like "Make America Great Again," American Patriot, that in itself is now inciting violence. The mere presence of Trump and his supporters are inciting violence. That is what they're trying to do. This is like totally, we're living through history right now, I feel, and that it is just, I literally can't believe that they're doing this. And I don't know why Trump, again, this is the toothless response by the normie conservatives. I don't know why they did not have a chance. They didn't go after them with antitrust laws, all of these big tech companies. It's just, to me, sorry, I have no words. I'm not going to.
No, but
man.
Sovereign is he who decides the exception.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the sovereign that decides the exception.
But wait,
Yes.
Gio, could you say again the specific lines that they said, which would
Yes.
infer that the that saying, make America great again, or saying any of these things would be, some kind of political incitement?
Yeah, this determination is based on a number of factors. President Trump's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration is being received by a number of his supporters as further confirmation that election was not legitimate, and is so again, even just questioning the legitimacy. It's that wow. That's wow. This is crazy. Yeah.
Gio, Sorry. No, you go.
Okay, it sounds like we're getting one step closer to like saying we live in a society is like hate speech. That's what
the mention of his supporters having a giant.
So Apex is
Yeah, go ahead, Apex. Yeah.
If you say clown world, you just like a black SUV shows up and you never get seen again. No, like literally, I leave for 30 minutes to help my sister cook dinner. 30 minutes, and I come back and the president is suspended off Twitter. Like, what is going on?
Wow.
What is going on?
The silver lining could be that, like, Twitter could be kind of ruining their longevity in terms as a platform. If they, I don't know, I'm not sure if you have Facebook and all this big tech with Google, Twitter, Instagram, if you have all these coordinated moves to censor people, at some point, what's stopping Elon Musk from creating his own smartphone? Like, everybody uses Apple phones and Google phones. Where's the high trust, like, paranoid security phone?
The
only
way that appears, though, I mean, one of the benefits, though, is that as ARM appears to be jumping back into the mainstream, kind of displacing Intel and AMD for processors, you may start seeing some smaller producers, but the problem is it's so capital intensive that the startup costs are huge.
You need someone, Elon Musk. Just because there's possibilities doesn't mean there's endless. Well, there can technically be endless possibilities, but you have to work within the reality you live in, right? Like, we don't live in some parallel universe. So Elon Musk I could totally see Elon Musk making his own, like, paranoid phone. Like, you could call it the paranoia phone. And it's like, the whole point of it is it's not an Apple phone. It's not a Google phone. This thing will not be tracking you. You can have apps on it and this and that, but it'll have a higher standard for data mining. Because I think people are going to start thinking, wait a second, these big tech overlords really are, like, sharing all the same talking points. We're tipping towards looking more and more like China. So how are people going to respond?
They're going to jailbreak their Samsung phones. That's what's going to happen. They're going to jailbreak their phones. I don't think Elon Musk is going to create a big phone.
Yeah, but even jailbreak your phones, these people aren't going to be high skilled enough. You're going to think you've jailbroken your phone, and
I'm just saying I don't think Elon Musk. I just don't think Elon Musk is going to create a paranoia phone. I think there's going to be a lot of, like, apps created, and then it's not really going to be secure.
And what happens when Apple and Google do what they did to Parler and they start banning it unless you do censorship? And what happens when Verizon and Sprint decide you're not allowed to use the paranoia phone on our 5G network? Like,
exactly.
I think
you got to start, like, at a more foundational level than user experience, like mesh networks.
There's
and
still cryptocurrency.
Community broadband.
That's totally true. You're 100% right. So there's the cryptocurrency is there. It's not so much that Bitcoin is rising as much as I think the dollar is collapsing in value. So if you have a currency that China hasn't even been able to stomp out, that speaks very well about its potential to survive long into the future, despite very organized, powerful antagonists. But then what are going to be the other things built on top of that kind of economy and ecosystem? Because the facial recognition is everywhere. People aren't quite mentally ready to think in terms of they're always being surveilled. So Kantbot and Yuval Noah Harari recommended this book, The Three Body Problem. And I'm very against spoilers, but there is a point in the book, without revealing anything, where people come to terms with the fact that they're always under surveillance. Like we're talking real surveillance. Like basically every little thing you do, like you pick your nose, you put your finger in your butt, like you fucking like put your foot in your mouth, like literally like all that stuff is seen, like through the walls, through everything, 24/7 recorded. You have no privacy. It takes like 10 years probably to like really do that kind of thought experiment, I think, when you really think in terms of you are always under surveillance. Now, how do you play ball and organize? How do you play ball and organize so that like you don't live in that kind of world where only some people have that kind of power, right? You don't want like
that's the point. The guard doesn't have to be there per se. But Moss, you had a point, and I know you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, don't talk. You're a woman. Don't talk. No, I'm fucking kidding.
Shut up, Gio. How dare you?
Gio wants a sandwich.
I'll make you one after I finish talking.
No, Moss, are you married? You're married, by the way.
Yes, I am.
Oh, I didn't mean to dox you. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. It's okay. No, you're not.
Yeah,
you're not. It's okay.
Why aren't you making your husband a sandwich right now, by the way?
I did already.
Okay, so that buys you about maybe another hour. Then
just give me like 0.5 seconds before I go make more food for the men around me. Okay, do you understand?
God, I value your contribution.
Thank you.
So you had a point. But Jules had a good point. This is the panopticon. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I think that the scariest part about it is that, when things are done against the people you dislike and they are censored and they're killed, it's like celebratory. It's like, oh man, yeah, fuck these people. I don't want them to talk. I don't want to hear what they have to say. But what people on the left, or even just people who hate Donald Trump in general, are not understanding is that allowing this and celebrating it's opening up the floodgates for it to happen to all of us, all of them. And like they're not getting it. It's just, you look at, you see the woman who, she died for what she believed in, whether you agree with her or not. But you are now celebrating her death and saying, well, if you're going against the government, they can kill you. As long as I'm against what you believe in, that's okay. And then, censoring and suspending Donald Trump on Twitter, it's like, well, I fucking hate Donald Trump. Good. I'm glad he's suspended off Twitter. And you're celebrating it, but you are allowing them to now do this to anyone.
So
because they're doing it to someone you hate and dislike, and you're not thinking of the big picture. I will now go tend to the men of my country. Goodbye.
It bothered me. I was listening to Ali Alexander again, who I think Ali Alexander was a hero. Like I was watching him with Stop the Steal, and I don't know really anyone else that put it all on the field, put it all on the line like him. Like he put all his money where his mouth is. He really did a lot organizing that. Like Trump had him front stage, like because it was that real. And I think Ali's a legend, but it makes me discouraged to hear him think that Trump's major error was not battling the big tech censorship, not trying to break them up in terms of monopolies, and not trying to either make some kind of internet amendment, or Ali wanted Trump to basically try to regulate these companies instead of like going for their real Achilles heel, which is, as I've been saying since the beginning of BTR, and I'm talking about before our like 300 subscriber to now landmark, when it was just me and Lev, we need an economic amendment to the Constitution. And what that would do is it would handicap government. It would no longer be able to be an active participant in the market. It could only be a referee, right? And then it would be easier for competitors to displace things like Twitter. But the problem is the way it keeps going. It's very imperceptible because there's just so much of it. But you have these regulations that'll say, okay, if you break this law, it's a $40,000 fine. Well, for Google, that's just an expense. Like, that's great for Google, right? Like, load up the $40,000 fines. Like, we could do that all day. But you know who can't pay a $40,000 fine? Me and Lev. Me and Lev cannot pay a $40,000 fine. So if you want to handicap Google, you don't create these regulations with punishments. You take the punishments away, so it equalizes Google to people like me and Lev. But if you're not thinking that way, then you're just going to keep playing into their hands until it's too late.
I couldn't agree more. The only problem is how we go about making that happen.
By the way, we have Pill Eater on, good friend of the show.
Yes, Pill Eater, how are you?
Hi guys, good to be on.
So what do you think about this historic occasion today? Trump getting kicked off Twitter.
Well, the funny part is I was just checking my Twitter, but all the hot girls are saying how he got off, and that's unfortunate because I wish they would say like, no, come back, but instead they're all celebrating he's going off. So that's sad. But I was actually trying to find the New York Times tweet about the unfortunate women's books that was trashed when the Capitol was destroyed the other day ago. There were women's books that were unfortunately tossed to the side, which I think is the most dramatic thing that happened at the Capitol yesterday.
This is the longest silence we've ever had in the history of BTR.
Didn't Geo have a whole thing on that? I remember seeing your thread on that, Geo, where you were like, the books are somehow more important than a woman's life.
There weren't even books in there. They used to house the books.
Yeah.
I said that
going off.
Yeah, the symbolic exchange is more important than the real in the liberal Weltanschauung. That should be a band. That should be like a Meshuggah, like a.
I was just trying to confirm if that was a real thing. I just saw
it
that
was a real thing.
Okay, so there were time to actually
you can probably find, if you go through Geo's feed, you can probably find his quote tweet of it.
Yeah, it's from the movie Bob.
I was going to retweet it.
Yeah, that's right. That's why
it was
Geo
such
was
an
unlocked.
important and progressive tweet. So
it definitely was a real thing. It definitely happened. I think. Listen, I watched that yesterday. That was rather. At first, watching, I'm just going to give a little bit of my thoughts on the play-by-play of that shit as it happened. So, I watched these people storm sort of the stairs, right? And a lot of the commentary right now is, how could these people have been allowed to storm the stairs? First of all, they look like they were like 15 cops, okay? 15 cops are never going to stop hundreds of people. It's just not going to happen. Second of all, it seemed like a large portion of the crowd were just like random boomers who like didn't understand like really what was going on. Like if you watch the footage, there's people walking into the building, right? That it's just been broken into, and they seem to understand what they're doing to a degree, but it's like they're not realizing that they're committing like a felony, right? Like they're not realizing that they're going into a federal building as like vandals. Like they don't understand this. You have the people who went into the Senate House, which was kind of excellent. Some rather historic photos of people of just random citizens sitting in like the most sacred cow seats and chairs in the American pantomime. But the footage of the girl getting shot, and I heard there were like 3 other people who were Trump people who were killed, and there was a cop who was killed, so like 5 people in total. And the footage of the woman being shot was, I don't know, man, that shit made my blood boil pretty hard. One, because fuck police shooting people, but also the behavior of everyone around them. Listen, I understand Nobody wants a gun to go off near them. But you're breaking into Capitol Hill. Do you think that people aren't potentially going to shoot you? That woman seemed to be pretty aware that people were going to shoot her. Like, it's not like she was climbing into that window and didn't see all the people pointing guns at her and telling her they were going to shoot her. And she did it anyway. A lot of those dudes, man, as soon as she got hit, they just scattered like roaches. And that was the worst part for me to see, was the fact that the person with the most conviction, seemingly, was a woman. And not that women can't have conviction, but you know, optics has been brought up quite a bit in the last few weeks, and that was some pretty fucking horrific optics.
Well, a lot of women have more balls today than men, so makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's clear.
Men have been trained to be a lot more.
Yes, I agree, but it just man, it just rubbed me the wrong way. It was really hard to watch, but that whole thing was kind of just it just felt really glowy to me. There's something weird about that whole situation. Like, what did they think was going to happen? Did they think that they were going to break into the building and like Q was going to descend from the ceiling and be like, all right, Patriots, you've done it. You've achieved the goal.
He's going to sit behind the president's desk. It's going to be Q.
That was like
Q is actually George Washington and Jesus Christ. They had a love child, and
exactly.
It was Q.
Yeah,
that was like that
all three of them.
All
three of them were
from
going to holding hands come together and show the boomers, you've done it.
Mount Rushmore was going to come to life.
Yeah, you've lived up to the greatest generation. You saved America. You did it, and it's like that. None of that. What the fuck did those people think was going to happen? Like, also, just as an aside, the fact that we saw grifters that we've been seeing for how many years involved in this, in that room, in Pelosi's office, and knowing that they're going to be arrested federally.
Oh, they're fucked. Yeah, they're done. Yeah.
They're so fucked. It's so bad.
Well, Jules, like, are you?
But Moss was just.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to mention.
Let me just wait.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Moss was saying the whole, it will be wielded against everybody, right? We understand that. There is a bit of schadenfreude at watching people that I dislike go through bad things, but at the same time, none of this is going to help us. This is a abject disaster in almost every way. I feel that it's good that there's people like BAP that are trying to have sort of like a silver linings in this, but that was so and especially, and I'm gonna keep it at the end brief here. The last thing is the fact that people like Giuliani and Trump were egging these people on, telling them that they were going to be a part of it, telling them they're going to be with them, and these dudes just don't show. Like, what is that? Are you kidding me?
Man.
Never trust a politician.
But yeah, is this like another Seville, you'd think? Is that the speculation?
Oh, this is worse.
Yeah.
This is worse by far.
You know why it's worse?
Domestic terrorist, domestic terrorist, domestic terrorist, domestic terrorist. And that will be the moniker that they apply to any and all of us.
What's worse because like it affects more, like as one point I forget, I have to look it up, but someone responded to me with a great insight that because more people are affected, like now it's like middle of the middle America, like white, like a blue collar, like conservative types that are caught up in this, because it was very easy to like look at Charlottesville and look at like, oh, they're just like Wignat white supremacists, and it's like, it's very easy to like look at them and like Skinner box them. It's like,
I agree with that. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think this is a radicalizing moment for many. They're going to realize that could have been any of them. They're going to realize that old grandmas are going to get fucking black bagged. Like,
there were literally grandmas at this at this protest. Yeah.
One of the things
that's pretty much more than half the entire country.
Old ladies.
No, but one of the things I was talking to Parallax Optics about was that the impact of these kinds of events are non-linear, in the sense that at a certain point, as you start othering, like you can make 100 homosatures. I can't pronounce anything, but you can't make 75 million of them. Like at a certain point, you just create a second society, and they go, well, fuck you too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
they
on the one hand, I agree that what happened was not necessarily a win. I fear that on one hand, the right handed the left a shotgun, and the left may end up blowing off its own leg with the shotgun blast.
Maybe, but that's an optimistic take.
It is optimistic.
Well, it's
but-
true that there are plenty of factions on the left that will certainly be targeted by an emboldened surveillance state and by an emboldened stance against any and all dissent to the American Imperial Project and the woke project, which are, of course, extremely intertwined. For instance, the TERFs will be targeted. The critics of American imperialism will be targeted. The Bernie Bros, many of them will certainly find themselves targets now, to a greater extent. Any faction that is critical of the establishment in a way which is not approved of. There are certain forms of critique that have been subsumed within the establishment, and the expression of such critique is actually a mark of integration within the establishment. For instance, certain movements that purport to be critical of our institutions and purport to claim that our institutions are indelibly evil. You know, these movements being sponsored by corporations and all, but and being deeply embedded within the corporate structure, within the government structure, etc. But any form of legitimate dissent, of course, the right liberals really will be the foremost target, but certainly in the coming years there will be crackdowns on and you already see leftists expressing their fear that this will occur. You see leftists complaining about this on Twitter. They know in their bones, and I think that they are right, that Marxist-Leninists will be targets. And
yeah, but they're all 15, so.
Well,
that's a great
they're
point.
not all 15.
No, it's a great point. I'll tell you why.
Black identity extremists, to use the FBI's term.
My good friend Ronald McFuckingtown, I know him for a lot of years now. He on Twitter, I retweeted it. He said how you notice how on BreadTube in particular, the biggest people like Vaush, they're changing their tune to support liberal democracy, and they're de-escalating their rhetoric because they know that they want longevity after the Biden neoliberal regime if they have their own Gamergate moment. And so they're very definitely afraid that their tanky pass, and I know Vaush likes to play this little game. I'm not a tanky, but I mean, come on, like, so he notice how when he quoted our good friend Vile in his live stream, I had to watch this whole fucking thing just to get the timestamp. How
much Vouch did you force yourself to watch, Gio?
Yeah, it's terrible. But he sounds, and I had to skip through it. But he's starting to sound like a basic bitch liberal because he has to. Like you said, they feel in their bones that they're going to be targeted as well if they step over the line. So who knows what's going to happen? Notice how BreadTube, a lot of them don't even talk about they do talk about politics, but they just talk about their own vanities.
They're all physically unfit. A lot of BreadTube.
Well, yeah, but they. I mean, I'm physically unfit. But yeah, Entrepreneur Vile, he recently was highlighted in a Vouch stream. But notice how they're starting to talk more about themselves. They're starting to act more like theater kid-esque. They're not really talking about high theory anymore because it's basically just like a theater show now. And this is for strategic reasons. So I don't know. Now that all of the right-wing YouTube grifters are gone or in the process of being destroyed, including the boy King, because he was shown in Capitol Hill. I think that, it's going to be quite wild, and there's going to be a huge vacuum left, and hopefully people that we know before we all get banned is going to fill that vacuum. I don't know. It's
well, I'm going to make sure
times.
as much as possible that not only do we not get banned, but that we can actually open up a venue for there to be a communication and a contact with people who are from the establishment or whatever the hell you want to call it, and a lot of the people who talk about the problems that they're seeing, just like what you're talking about right now. Like, would you be able to talk about this kind of stuff with somebody from an establishment organization, and for them to look at you with a straight face and tell you that, no, this is okay, this is not a problem, that yes, anybody who says, make America great again, should be imprisoned. They can't say that with a fucking straight face, at least not the people that we have on, because the people that we have on, like, they
we won't allow them to.
They're good. They have a good way of thinking about life, and they're pragmatic, and I think that they're not going to go down this ridiculous loopy rabbit hole of believing that anybody who's a Trump supporter is now a terrorist. That is absolutely ridiculous, and I think that our stream would be able to be the echo chamber breaker, different from any party they would happen to attend, where all of a sudden everybody would start saying, like, yes, we should arrest all these Trump supporters. Like, that mass hypnosis, if that happens, this is going to be the antidote to that. And without further ado, we've got Tom Barry over here. So, Tom, he has been a guest on BTR before, and he is back, and I am so happy to have Tom Barry back with us. Tom, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing excellent, Lev. It's so good to see you. Gio, it's good to see you, too.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great.
And everybody, for the sake of Tom Barry, please subscribe right now. It is a great honor to have him here, and it's a great honor to have all of you here. This is a very historic moment. I mean, it's so weird to say that because a Twitter account has been banned, it's a historic moment, but in a way it kind of fucking is. Like, Tom, just, you have the floor. What do you think?
In terms of what's happening right now in the country, I'm deeply concerned. For any of you guys in the room that don't know me, I'm someone that I would formally almost describe as a leftist, but right now the left is dead in this country, as I'm sure every one of you know. I was a Tulsi Gabbard style leftist after the Bernie campaign of this last year, and watching what the squad has done and watching what the corporate Democratic Party has become. I am what I would call politically homeless now. What's happening in DC, what's happening with these tech companies is absolutely horrifying, because we're in this kind of existential crisis right now, I think, where you have the deep state, you have the military industrial complex, you have the generals, you have the media and the intelligence agencies and the Democratic Party coming together to really strike the final blow to our democracy. There's a big problem on the left right now, where the left has been talking about election fraud since 2015, since Bernie got cheated in the primary. And here we are 5-6 years later, and there is clear election fraud, not only in the primary, but in the general election. And the left has completely abdicated and shifted to this totalitarian stance where there is clear evidence of election fraud across a number of states with the voting machines. And because it is...
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
sorry
please
to cut
go
you
ahead.
off. I think maybe just for preservation of the channel, maybe don't say the F word.
we gotta be careful when we talk about that.
Refer to them as irregularities.
Irregular, there you go. That's a
Do you
better...
really not say fraud on you? Oh yeah, because there was some new thing where it's like YouTube. We cannot say there's election fraud, but you can say
they'll
the other way around.
Yeah.
You can say it the other way around. Like you could say, I don't know, Trump bad, but you know.
I have a YouTube channel as well too, and where most of my channel has been about elections and the election system. That's what half my videos mostly cover. And we're now in a position where we can't say words and we can't talk about a large number of things. This is only getting worse. I'm sure you guys have talked about it already, but Donald Trump just got censored off of Twitter, off of Facebook, off all social media. And this is the president of the United States, whether you like him or not. This is the president of the United States being censored off of the entire social media platform, and no one's being allowed to hear what the president has to say.
I can't believe it. Yeah, it's wow.
And this is coming from a leftist right now too. it's a scary time that we're at. I felt this almost danger for the last 6 months for sticking your head up. But it seems like there's this thing happening where if you don't have a red or a blue hat on right now, you are a major target. And it's only a couple moves to take pretty much anyone off the board. Doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter how big your platform is or who you're reaching. Anyone in this environment, I think, can be completely removed off the playing board within just 2 moves. And we've allowed the tech companies to consolidate all this control. You've got leftists in the Democratic Party cheering on authoritarianism, stripping congressmen of their congressional seat, of censoring across social media, across the news, across every platform. And I honestly cheered and was jealous when I saw the Trump supporters protesting inside the Capitol, because I wish the left had enough balls to ever do anything like that. I mean, the left is...
Well, you have to go back to the
gets
1970s to find anything like that.
Well,
Yes.
the left always gets tricked by the establishment, but even in the 1970s, you know, like they were partly getting money from the USSR, so it was not a grassroots effort by any means.
But I think it's just like, yeah, the reality of this, we're entering a period of history that is unprecedented, I feel. And it's just, the thing is about, I don't even know what to say anymore.
No, it's we're entering into a period.
Yeah, surveillance
we
capitalism,
have
there
entered
you
into
go.
a period of spiritual exhaustion.
Yes.
We've entered into a period of spiritual exhaustion. That's it. I mean, you've got the virgin America is Germany in the 1930s takes, and you've got the Chad America is the USSR in the 1980s takes. I mean, we are an apathetic,
and people
dying
will be like,
society.
running
Our
to the Capitol.
Like, who can go to the DMV, the post office? Look at how we voted this year. Look at how hard it was to get, like, people still haven't gotten their first stimulus checks, not because they didn't qualify, but because we literally can't get it to them. We are a $20 trillion economy and we cannot get people checks. Like, we're a failed state. We are a failed state with an imperial capital that has just enough security forces to hold it all together. And that's, that is the new reality. I mean, the Trump era didn't change much as it just revealed it. It took the mask off. It brought friend-enemy politics back into the limelight. I mean, it was always there, but it made it, the spotlight is there. And Tom, like you, I was a leftist, still agree with a lot of the principles to this day, but disavowed it because watched basically half of my friends right after the election go, we can just deport all the Hispanics. They don't matter now anymore because they voted for Trump, and this is the world that we live in now.
I think
the
one
mask
white
is off.
pill. One white pill I would mention is that the Republican Party, the GOP, is pretty much done for at this point.
It's dead.
They're dead.
It's dead.
They totally backstabbed every single person that has voted Republican their whole lives, and they did it out of sheer egoism and to cut deals. And really, the Republicans got they did get what they wanted, but now, of course, how does it work? The Senate is gone; it's no longer Republican now. Or how does that work?
But so this is my thing. Is like there's. You have to understand that, like, the old order is gone and you have to, like, rebuild a new one, right. Like I'm not trying to be a doomer here, because no countries rise and fall, societies rise and fall, but they come back over time. Like, there's a lot worth saving, like there's one, like, don't delude yourself, but at the same time, it's like,
love.
Don't give in to despair.
I don't know. It's very hard not to give in to despair, though. I guess.
Do not give in to despair. Do not give in to despair.
This is my point, and this is as someone who is living currently in New York City, but also, like, lived upstate. There's a lot of places in this country that are still follow my go outside and be normal credo. Like, just. There's a lot that's not been destroyed, and there's a lot of places that can be built and rebuilt. So, there is no despair. There is just work that needs to be done. That is what I will say.
Yes. That's what I felt exactly yesterday, and even today with him getting suspended.
Destruction of the middle class will begin, and I'll be happy.
Begin. It began 3 years ago.
That's what I was. Dude,
it's almost done.
We should
this has been going on for a
celebrate it.
long time.
We got to destroy soccer moms and suburban dads like Ren and Stimpy, John K. societies. They're gone. They're dead. Say goodbye to white America, because that was fascism. We have to celebrate the post-middle class society.
Well,
I am
this
one.
Is
I
professional managerial class.
I am still one for the grill pill over here, because there are still communities, like you said before. There's
just
still
want to grill. Is that what? Is that
exactly? I just want to grill for God's
I just want to grill
sakes.
for goddamn sake.
Exactly.
So Lev, this is my point though, and this is the problem with the grill pill in at least a vulgar form. Is like you cannot resist Cthulhu unless you make a sword.
It's the same problem with
you have to organize.
Wait, who's
at
Cthulhu
a certain
here?
point.
It's the same problem with Rod Dreyer's Benedict option. It's the same
mainstream
problem
media,
with Midwestern
big tech.
trad dads.
Sorry, I'm more powerful than the mainstream media, so I'm not going to have any
Look at those
chance.
guns.
Yeah.
Look at those guns.
But I want to ask a question. This has been on my mind. Like, I feel, do you think an attack like the Capitol, I don't know what to call it, but the Capitol raid or whatever, I'm surely there's like a better place that all of those people could have swarmed rather than like the White House building, like a tech company or something like that. I don't know if anyone on here has any ideas that they would like, if you would agree with that, or like places where
I mean the Nashville dude who crippled part of AT&T's network probably did more for any kind of reasonable takedown of the deep state than the Capitol March was. But like the point is that like doing the work is not sexy. It's like it's cold calling people and getting them to like join into like local organizations. Like it's not necessarily fun work, but like it's the kind of stuff that the left has been doing, or not really the left because the left's dead, but liberals have been doing for a long time. And you have like you got to play by the same rules. Like at a certain point you have to organize. Like you can sit there and say I just want to grill, but at a certain like you may not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you, and it's interested in your family, and it's interested in your children.
You may be mixing up. Well, not mixing up, because I didn't really fully say what I wanted to say, which is when I'm talking about the grill pill is basically step one. Step one is actually knocking people out of this frenzy they happen to be in, regardless of what side you're on, where they're constantly in panic mode, constantly like, oh my God, like we have to do something, and okay, relax. Do the grill pill first, get to know people, get to know your neighbors, get to know your community. I think people have a stigma right now whenever especially now if they're going to hear anything related to any kind of political organization. So stop that, at least for the strategy that I'm employing here. Let's stop that. Let's meet up with people. Let's talk with people. Let's agree on certain things that we all have in common. And from there, something could actually be built instead of having, some kind of political movement that's,
I don't think
very out
Suburbia is
there.
a part of the grill pill. I think Suburbia is like a dead-end 1950s.
Suburbia is a hellscape and is one of the biggest drivers of atomization.
Yeah,
I think something that's really important.
Well, Pill Eater has gone on length in his YouTube channel about how Suburbia has killed the creative spirit of interesting artistic.
And when people talk about
dissidents.
whiteness, they're not talking about European deprived people. They're talking about the lameness of suburban culture going into a cosmopolitan setting.
Breach.
And that's like a weird liberal Vosh thing. And then we right translate it as, you're anti-white. But then if you're a white nationalist, you'd be supporting gay suburban Chuck E. Cheese mall shit,
Yeah, like liberalism for white people. Yeah.
So it's like
shit. But here's an important thing. I think this is really important to mention with all of these pills: red pill, blue pill, black pill, all of these pills. Yeah, it's like any medication, right? Like, it's just a fucking start. When you take some like ideology or whatever, and you're not actually really doing anything. It's like, oh, you're believing a certain way, but action, I feel like, is more important. You need to like have some sort of action. But like, I'm not even saying like go destroy the Capitol. I'm talking like fucking work on yourself, try and find purpose, try and like get a job.
Here's one thing. Yeah, because I agree with Ewan. I can't.
Ewan, you're completely
Jesus
right.
Christ, Ewan. Sorry. I
It's
pronounce
okay.
justice.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the name. Get your points more
Never
important
mind.
than my name. Is
Anyways,
mispronunciation
like,
license has been granted.
You gotta look at like how do you build an alternative institution? So like what institutions are ripe for making your work in? And it's like, do you want to do like education? Like, could we help homeschooling? I mean, there was a big homeschooling kind of boom. Like, what could you do to help homeschooling?
Yeah, I was homeschooled, so there we go. I could definitely see there being a resurgence in education online, especially now. If people are going online, going to these stupid Zoom classes where these, very low-grade teachers are teaching these kids. So now I don't think there's that much holding the parents back from trying some alternative systems out. I mean, if I was able to do it, like I went through Bob Jones University, which was, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. It's like a conservative Christian thing, and I was not a conservative Christian, but it's still something that benefited me as far as I just had to do the tests, and the rest of the time I could do whatever I want. And I think that's the real key here, because if people, like young people, if they are all the time just in front of these teachers and being spouted with all this propaganda, then that does sort of mold you. I mean, sure, you could say that there are like the based Gen Z that are going to go the other way, but then there are some kids that actually do swallow it hook, line, and sinker. So if we could do something with education, that could be a good first step. But also I wanted to go back to actually the politics side of it and ask you guys, do you really think that it is an absolutely lost cause to go through the system proper, like go through your local, I don't know, Democratic or Republican Party and try to be the new blood that gets infused there?
Like,
maybe
no,
yeah.
no, Lev.
Okay, well tell me why then.
Because you get corrupted. It's the ultimate. You try to change it from within, and they turn you inside out and turn you into your worst nightmare. There's no way to do that. They're too good at that. It's like think about how many politicians.
Hold on. That's a good point, but I think you're confusing it for something else. So if you think about politics as a giant ship, right? Like the Titanic, you can't 180 the ship, right? You can't just like get at the wheel and go like, let's turn it around.
You can kind of steer it, right?
It's inertia,
so
I understand.
if the whole time you're sitting there like in the hull or wherever and you're going, man, I wish this ship was going in the opposite direction. I'm going to get up there and I'm going to turn the ship around. And then you get up there and realize it's physically impossible. Just because you accept physical reality doesn't necessarily mean the ship changed your priorities. It meant like you have to like look at the situation at hand. So if you're also
I see what you're saying. It's like assuming that you're going to get on the front line and win the war, and you get there and you realize, wait a second, I cannot do that. It's literally impossible for me to do so. I guess I have to work my way through this. I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and so and also keep in mind with the Titanic, there's a lot of reason to believe, a lot of people say this, that if they hadn't avoided the iceberg, if they had just went straight into it, it would not have sank, right? So because they saw impact, they were like, oh my God, impact is coming. Let's just try to steer away from impact. That's what fucking sank them all, right? Instead of just embracing the engineering of the ship, they created this exaggerated vulnerability that just scratched the side of it and literally was the only way that
Jules
ship could possibly sink.
Jules, with this ship analogy, I feel like you're forgetting something that I think of immediately when I think of ships and people and captains. I think of mutiny. I don't know. It's surely mutinies have happened in real life, like revolutions and shit like that. That happens quite unexpectedly. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but
yeah, when you're thinking about building an institution, because that's how this conversation started. What scale do you want to be at? Because sometimes I feel like a lot of people on this show think in terms of they want to create their own civilization on Mars. Let's build an island and let's build our M. Night Shyamalan's village. Let's just find people that only agree with us. Let's find people that only agree with us. And we're going to create our own little, you know, wild country society. And that's going to work. And then, like, meanwhile,
that's what they call in the National Guard, and
drone
like
strike you.
So if you're worried about your M. Night Shyamalan village, wild country values being corrupted because you try to basically get at the wheel of the ship to like just steer it a little bit instead of like turning it around, which is physically impossible. Like, you have to think about, okay, what kind of institution do I want to create and why? So you can absolutely change these institutions from within, but they may change you as well. But then you also have to think about, like, what is the nature of that change, right? Because you have to play ball. You have to play ball.
Well, by the way, the tweet from Twitter has approaching 400K likes, and apparently Twitter is also getting canceled over this. Their stocks are way down, and the top reply, 27K likes. Just so we're clear, this is an admission that you were always capable of doing this and simply chose not to. So that's not good enough. I think they should have banned him. I don't know. They wanted him banned immediately, I guess. It's just, yeah. Well, it's
interesting.
What I would add, people want him dragged out of the Oval Office now. That's what they want.
Yeah, people.
Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think impeachment is going to come, or what's going to
No,
happen?
I think it's a distraction so that they don't have to give out the 2K checks because Manchin already said he doesn't want to vote for it.
Yeah, but I think they if they can get away with publicly humiliate him like that, they will.
Well, he's already been like that has passed. Like at this point, you've gone from the pragmatic to the vengeful. Okay, like every bad thing that you could do, like they have the political will to make Patriot Act 2.0. Like it's there. They could pass it on Monday.
It's happening now.
Yeah, and like they don't need to go further. They want to go further. Like there's like it has shifted from the pragmatic to the vengeful.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not like it's not a will they or do they have to. It's like it's more of a, it's up to them. The ball's in their court at this point and they know it.
Well, they want to knock their opponents off high horses. That's literally how they feel.
The ball is in their court, but if we're talking about them going against the, I'd say the majority of America, well, the majority of at least the middle America, flyover states, whatever you want to say, like that is a substantial amount of people that, you know, the first level was calling them deplorables, but then if the second level is actually going after them, like, I'm sorry, but I don't see how something like that would be able to be tolerated for a long time, which is, again, why I am very, you know, I've emphasized so much how important it is for us to get people from that side and actually talk with them, because especially right now, I feel like they are just talking with the other people who agree that all of these things that are being done, not only are they right, but they should have been done, and maybe some people don't think that, but they can't even say that. So, you know, it's important to start airing these things out in public, because like I said before, I don't think any of the people who we've talked to in the past who would be, let's say, more on the side of people that are, you know, for impeachment and stuff like that, I really don't think they'd be on the side of having, you know, just these people who are Trump supporters, you know, being targeted like they were part of Al-Qaeda.
Of course, people would say they're not in favor of that, but they don't have the wisdom to oppose the kind of climate that would make that more likely. Like it's sort of like there's very cliche, like talk is cheap, easy things to say that don't move the needle enough so that when it's too little too late, like maybe they'll be able to pat themselves on the back and go, well, we were never in favor of that. But they didn't have the wisdom or forethought to like be able to use the kind of rhetoric to push the needle enough so that never got to that point.
And we have Pamad joining us over here. Pamad or Pamode, I'm not exactly sure. How are you? Pamode, can you hear us? Can you turn on your mic so that we can hear you? And guys, don't forget to subscribe to BTR. We are not going anywhere. Strange things are happening, but we are here for the long haul. Isn't that right, Jules?
Absolutely. We really are.
Can I step in and ask
Yes.
you guys, do you guys have can I ask your views on what's happening with Julian Assange right now? Does anyone here have a strong opinion?
Well, what is happening?
What's happening?
Did they say that they were going to pardon him, but then he reneged on it? What's happening with that?
So if anyone's not following the case, what's going on right now is the judge in Britain basically validated all of the claims of Assange being basically a cyber terrorist, and validated every single government claim. The only thing that shifted that and changed is she said that the American prison system is so inhumane that Assange will commit suicide, because in Britain, isolation is a big no-no. It's considered torture. So him coming over here, he would be put in isolation, which would be torture according to the British system. But what they did over there,
SNY isolation, yeah.
But what they did over there is they created a precedent, which we are trying to create here. And the precedent now for all of the court systems is that Julian Assange, or a publisher that publishes something that a powerful government like the United States disagrees with, is now subject, and according to British law, looks like they would be guilty of espionage. And so for any future whistleblower in Britain, they are actually, all the court systems are now bound by that precedent. The only thing that's good is that Julian Assange isn't being shipped here now, but they really accomplished their main goal, which is silencing Julian Assange, because there would be a very powerful moment. The world hasn't heard Julian Assange's voice in 2 years. And if Julian
can't even
Assange,
speak anymore.
Yes.
They gave him brain damage. They gave him brain damage.
Wait, how did they give him brain damage?
Of his health, by the way. What is the status of his health? Like, why is he sick, and what happened? Did they consciously poison him or something, or what?
What happened? They put him in like a locked car for too long, like turn up the CO2
He was in a coma
or
or something. Why is his health like? This is what I mean. Like, first of all, I agree. Like, if Trump really wanted to shake things up, full 100% pardon, that would have been like, I don't know why he didn't. I mean, it's just, again,
would they even be respected?
I think.
I mean, at this point, does the sovereignty even lie with the president? I don't think the answer to that question is yes.
Well,
he could definitely pardon. I think the pardon stuff and Trump's awareness of the situation is. So I think Trump's very aware, and I think the pardon stuff is a lot more difficult than it sounds, because of the ripple effects, the social ripple effects of doing something like that in the highest echelons. So if your safety depends on like the Secret Service and the military and the people that have devoted their lives, in some cases generations have devoted their lives to national security, there's like it's a very black and white kind of world where it's like Julian Assange is seen as compromising national security. So to pardon him could have ripple effects that you don't really like have the senses for until you're in that seat and you've had like 30 people in your face say, if you pardon this person, like this is what's gonna happen. And then suddenly you're like, yeah, I could pardon this person, but like what are gonna be the ripple consequences of doing that? Frankly, I do think they should pardon Assange. Snowden, I'm not as sympathetic to. I think that it's tough. I think they should pardon Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. I actually think Trump should, if he's going to pardon some people, he should be pardoning Lil Wayne and Kodak Black
Squirrely.
And
Pardon,
Baked-
Squirrely.
He should be
It's not even a
pardoning
joke.
Ted
I'm not being
Kaczynski.
silly. I'm
He should be
actually not
pardoning
being
Ted
silly.
Kaczynski.
What about
I'm not even
Baked
being silly.
Alaska? Is it too late to pardon
No.
Baked Alaska?
I don't. Baked Alaska's too annoying. I don't care. No other crime.
Can
you
Just
imagine
being
if
too
that happened,
annoying.
though?
Prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
By the way,
want him
Jules,
to
we
pardon
were
Baked
we were
Alaska.
almost gonna have a Baked Alaska on, weren't we? Or you were hanging out with him back in California, right?
I was hanging out with Anomaly in
Oh, yeah.
California. Yeah, and that's how I got that, because I sent him a message, and then you went on his debate when he was like doing that
Yes.
debate thing, but it was
Make
really just like
America
an
debate
awesome
again.
conversation.
Hmm. But there was talk about Baked Alaska, I remember. So I'm not sure if so you didn't meet him, but there was talk of like somebody who knew him. Like he was hanging around certain like some of the same circles back in I think we were talking about how Baked Alaska was hanging around similar circles. Like he was already turning himself into this Hollywood boy, you know, after the whole stuff happened with him back in the day, like with the white supremacy stuff and all that. But it's so weird, though. How do you not have head enough on your shoulders to actually forego this urge to take a picture on social media that's going to get you, you know, fucking Guantanamo Bay? Like, I don't understand that.
Wait, Lev, are you honestly asking about the stupidity of Baked Alaska? I'm sorry, man. That's
Yeah, I
just,
genuinely think that they are literally that stupid.
I think he thought like all things. Like, here's the thing. Baked Alaska is the perfect example of the lizard grifter brain, the lizard brain of grifting, because he saw an amazing clout opportunity, an amazing super chat opportunity to go and shit Nancy Pelosi's office. And with
wait, he
friends.
shit in the office?
He
That
did,
was
but
him?
someone did apparently. Someone did. That's
Okay.
yeah.
But someone did steal the laptop. So to the comment that I was saying before, like, you know, these people are so disorganized, you know, like they wouldn't even, well, apparently somebody did. But I wonder what's going to come of that. Like, that seems like a potential big situation. I don't know, like national security. I'm not necessarily sure if there are any ramifications with national security, but who knows? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, they just threw that in there right now with the laptop stealing. Like, how would they even do that?
I think if Trump did pardon Assange and Snowden, that would be a kind of nuke on the deep state. And maybe that's something he will do to kind of like inject a slow poison into them, but you don't really know what the side effects of that would be. Because if you do weaken America's immune system to conflict at home, you know, that's it's like, would he be setting us up for chemotherapy, or is he going to be setting us up for something else? Do you know what I mean? Because chemotherapy is really rough and it kills everything bad and everything good, and doesn't even always work.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
I believe Assange and Snowden are two very different things. Snowden, I can understand why I believe Snowden's a whistleblower, but I can totally understand why some people can claim he should be brought for charges because he was an intelligence operative that leaked information. I think Assange is a very, very special case and is a bellwether for a lot of our republic, I believe. Assange is an Australian publisher who has never published a false statement. Almost no news organization can claim that, has never published false information. All of the stuff that Assange published as an Australian publisher was also published by The Guardian, The New York Times, and all of these major outlets. If we bring an Australian citizen here and charge him with the Espionage Act, this outdated law where he's not even allowed to defend himself because he doesn't have access to any information because they classify everything. So he gives no defense of himself. And we set a court precedent in the United States that we can charge any citizen of the world, anyone that's not even an American, that with the Espionage Act of the United States, throw them in jail for the rest of their life and not even hear their defense. And every court system would become bound by that precedent. I believe would be one of the most dangerous things that could happen to this country. And it's what I believe is the danger we're really facing, which is the lack of ability to communicate with each other, because I'm watching this censorship crackdown and all these words that we're not saying now, and it's happening in real time. They're getting ready to pass a new version of the Patriot Act on top of the Patriot Act. You've got the left riled up and cheering this on. You've got Biden coming back into office, who's saying he's going to pass all of these laws. You've got Biden coming back into office, who with Obama expanded our 2 wars to 8, taking us to war in Pakistan, Somalia, Libya, Nigeria, Niger, and Yemen. This is the same Biden administration that deported 3 times as many people as Trump did, despite the left. Their big issue is kids in cages and immigration. If you look at the numbers, Obama and Biden deported almost 3 times as many people as Donald Trump. And Biden has already said that he's not going to change any of it.
And let's be clear about what Julian Assange exposed. I mean, these were like legit war crimes among vastly other things going on. And there's often a lot of ignored information that has to do with corporate espionage in the corporate world as well that Julian exposed, and the various malpractices. And that's another thing that's often, because the big sexy headlines with war crimes tends to take over, but all the other stuff I feel is directly threatening to the corporatocracy as well. And so they are also unanimous in wanting Washington to basically punish Julian forever. So that's,
were there also, by the way, real quick, were there also any people, like any agents that because of Assange's information they got killed, or there were problems that occurred?
There's like rumors on the export, but like there's
I
rumors
wouldn't
and
believe it
speculation.
even if they said it.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can't really prove. Like they won't let you prove. But I've heard stories that a lot of people got fucked because of Julian's actions, but I don't know the validity of that. I mean, it's very hard when you have like basically the world's biggest information intelligence gathering apparatus against you. It's kind of like hard to keep your sources 100% anonymous, right? So there's always going to be rumors and speculation. Like the fact that like even we don't know like the list of like every CIA black site, or like what they do there, or how many prisoners the United States government has off the books, like shit like that is just, it's really like, I don't know, it's
terrifying.
I don't know what to say.
And I don't, do you remember, it was like, it had to have been like 2 months ago or something, where there was that military officer who said that they'd been lying to Trump about the number of troops in Syria so that he didn't pull them all out. They were like, no, there's only like 200 of there. There was
but
like
the fact that they would even go as far as to admit that,
and they were gloating. And that's the thing, because they're untouchable. They're unfucking touchable, and they know they're untouchable.
Well, I mean, they're doing war crimes and they're not being punished. Julian Assange, one of his big publishes is that we were doing double tap drone bombings, where we drop a bomb on someone and we kill maybe one person we're after, we kill 20 people along with it, and then we wait for the medics and all the people that are like showing up to like try to like help people, and then we bomb and we kill all them too. And Julian Assange exposed all of that. That's a factual policy.
That's
how the United States operates.
That's similar to what happened in Vietnam, I believe, with a McNamara guy, the kind of tactics they were employing. It wasn't so much how do we win strategically. It was more about statistics and numbers, and we got this many, so we are this much closer to winning the war. Yeah, and it is pretty, like myself wrote, absolutely devilish. It is pretty devilish. But at the same time, like, there has to be a balance, I think, between being able to maintain certain, and again, national interest is a term that people can look at as pretty, as pretty selfish. But I also think that has to do with other competing powers in the world, which right now also exist. So I'm not going to be totally, a person who's like an absolute dove and peacenik and say that there would never ever be any need at all for the military-industrial complex. At the same time, it has to be balanced out. And it's unfortunate that there are conversations where it's only about, let's get rid of the evil imperial American devil, as if no other imperial devils exist in the world right now, or saying that we should leave everything exactly the way it is, and I'm not going to hear any of the problems. So this is another conversation that I would love to have if we can actually bring in some neoconservatives. I don't think we've had a neoconservative guest on BTR ever, and I want to change that. So what I want to do right now is ask everybody who's in the chat right now. We are bringing in Jessica Deloach, who was working on Pete Buttigieg's campaign for Tuesday, and she's going to be talking about infrastructure, the future of American infrastructure, with Alex Forrest, the great Alex Forrest, who we did a Sowing Discourse with. But let me know if there are any neocons that you know, and I would love to bring them on and to talk about these these international situations that we have going.
We'll get David Frum on.
No. Yeah. By the way, Lev, I just like to say, when I was saying absolutely devilish, I was more saying that if you see the chicken, you'd lose image behind you is devilish, and they were kind of unrelated. Like I don't know. I'm like so out of my depth on American politics.
You know what's
it's
funny?
Like the one subject. It's like.
You know what's funny? I don't exactly like the Trump kids. I think they're kind of, I don't know, except for Barron. Barron Trump is based, but Donald Trump Jr. actually tweeted a good point. I don't know, is Donald Trump Jr. the stupid one, or the other one is kind of like not that bright? Eric, whatever is, I forget. But anyways, he tweeted a good point. So I guess a broken clock. So the Ayatollah and numerous other dictatorial regimes can have Twitter accounts with no issues, despite threatening genocide to entire countries and killing various people. But the president of the United States should be permanently suspended. It is kind of crazy how like literal war criminals have had like Twitter accounts, and it's just, but nobody cares. But I don't know. It's the same thing with the fact that every single president since Ronald Reagan, even before, like started or ramped up a war, but Trump is like the first one to like not go into like a third world shithole and just bomb them to smithereens. And by the way, we still we talk about like these military actions, but really the effects of these military actions are literally last for decades. And like, for example,
we destroy countries.
Yeah,
he's the first president in 20 years not to start a new war.
Yeah, and the wars that are started,
countries, and we destroy the people that we send to fight. We destroy everything about it is, but like this, the soldiers that we send to fight get destroyed. The places that we send them to fight in get destroyed. Even the home front.
Even on a genetic level,
on the people.
Yeah, on a genetic level, we destroy them as well, because look at all of the depleted uranium and the chemicals, and the fact that the Iraq, like the region between Kuwait, Iraq, and to Iran, because of the chemicals that we sold to Saddam in the 80s, it's like literally the most, like some of the highest cancer and birth defect rates in the world is in that Middle Eastern region because of American imperialist action. And for people to like go around and I don't know, it's just... the more I talk about it, the more I feel like the whole Iraq and Afghanistan war during the Obama years was sort of memory hold. Now nobody cares about the Middle East anymore. It's like really, I don't know. It's weird. It's just
the 117th Congress just there's a bill on the docket once again. HR 127 to provide for the licensing of firearm possession and the registration of firearms, and to prohibit the possession of certain ammunition. So it's going to happen like within the first week or two, guaranteed.
Yeah, I think
to Canada,
the largest
guys.
crackdown we've ever seen is on the way. Like I believe that we are facing the next version of the Patriot Act, as well as a major mass version of censorship, where it really that's their only move they have left. You have half the country that does not believe in electoral politics, or whether they're wrong or right, they don't believe that there is a path to any sort of change through electoral politics. I don't know if anybody listened to Tucker Carlson the other day. He gave a really great speech about how the electoral politics is supposed to be the safety valve that lets off steam, that when people get really angry, when people want change, it is the one mechanism they can organize together and they can try to change the system. But if people no longer believe that it's possible to change the system from the inside, we are looking at the same sort of collapse that we've seen in almost every other collapsed democracy around the world. And it's happening quickly and it's speeding up. And rather than let the steam out of the release valve, they're doing what every kind of dictatorial regime has ever done, which is only tighten the noose further and further and further, which only radicalizes more people, creates more strife. And I think we're looking forward to a very, very rough year. And I don't know if I personally believe that there's a path to change through the electoral politics system anymore.
Is there any democracy historically that has not, if not being conquered before the following occurs, that has not first degenerated into a kind of oligarchic administrative state and then into an authoritarian tyranny or demagoguery?
No.
No.
I can't think
No,
of one
and
either.
the reason why is that democracy is just it doesn't actually make everyone equal. It's not one person, one vote. It obfuscates things. You know, basically what happens is that people vote on the information they know, and the information they are given is decided by a very small set of people who decide what you see, what you hear, what you're allowed to say. They don't need to control what you think if they control the entire world around you, all of the information that you get. Like, I don't know what's happening in Los Angeles right now. I can't know.
I'm there right now.
Yeah. Well, Tom, all right, of all the cities to pick, I'm gonna pick, Honolulu, Hawaii. All right. I don't know what's happening in Honolulu. I need someone there that I trust. And so I will put my trust in a person or an institution. Like if Tom was not here, and if I want to know what's happening in LA, I can ask Tom because Tom seems trustworthy. But if he wasn't here, I would have to ask ABC News, and they can decide whatever they want to put on. How am I supposed to know what is actually happening there? I can't. It's not possible. And so democracy is basically just a legitimization scheme for elite interests, because the elites decided that after divine right fell out and the will of the people became the only legitimacy that a government could appeal to, the elites decided we'll just manipulate the will of the people to agree with whatever we want, and then to legitimize that through voting. And that's what, it doesn't degenerate into an authoritarian state. It already is one. It just takes the mask off more and more as it needs to prevent dissent.
Yeah, it has to have the illusion of being a non-authoritarian state in order for it to really work. But as people get more comfortable,
the mask comes off as it becomes less necessary. Sorry.
Whereas it becomes more necessary.
Well, what was that, the leader?
I'm saying in liberalism, you choose your master. It's the guys that you're supposed to be free, but liberalism, you choose who's your boss. And supposedly we worship that as our freedom. And that's why you have very crass middle class attitude, is because liberalism, just choose which school you're going to go in debt, and supposedly choose the woman you'll be with the rest of your life. But if you really wanted that ideal woman and there's no women left, too bad. It's the silly marketism and
state-mandated girlfriends.
Exactly.
Pill Eater 2024.
Exactly.
Identity politics and this obsession with equality. I am not for equality in terms of outcome. I think that's one of the big poison pills that the left has swallowed. Is they've got this idea, this almost communist kind of idea of equality of outcome, which is not realistic and is not good for the country. I believe that as an American and feeling patriotic about this country, I'd like to set a bar for being the wealthiest country in the history of the world, that no American goes below this bar, and that every American at least has a roof over their head, a place to sleep, and has food in their belly. But I do not believe in equality of outcome and this identity politics trap that has entrapped the entire left, where they don't think about any of the issues anymore if it is in conflict with their identity politics, their virtue signaling to other people, and their identity itself.
But I think even goes beyond that, though, like just quality of outcome. It's more of there's a lot of humiliation ritual aspects to it.
It's friend enemy.
It's the friend enemy.
Oh, by the way, speaking of friend of the show, Yakov press F. He got banned off Twitter.
Rest in peace. I don't know the guy very well, but rest in peace.
Subscribe to Skinwalker Tapes.
Yes, Skinwalker Tapes.
Subscribe to Skinwalker Tapes.
We have to start giving deep web tutorials, otherwise our entire audience is going to be canceled and deplatformed, and they're going to have no way to
I'm going to be uploading BTR. I'm going to be uploading BTR footage to all of them, to BitChute, to Rumble, to you name it. I want
IRCs, Matrix, all that.
Telegram, Signal. We got to get on all of it right now, guys.
That's what Trump. Here's something that Trump should have done, and I don't know why he wasn't for weeks. The amount of time he spends on Twitter and for the kind of following he has, he could have just said every day, everyone leave Twitter, follow me on Parler. Like he
Or
could
no,
have just
he doesn't say that every day. He says it once and he never opens Twitter again. Like that's all he needed to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you're right. But even if that didn't work, because that actually might have been the best move. Like he could at least go back every now and then and say, hey, if you're not on Parler, you're not going to see what I'm tweeting. He could have done that for months. And he wouldn't have been in this position where suddenly he's looking weak and then boom, they Alex Jones him. Because that's literally what it looks like they're going to do to him.
Oh, it's already done. It's already done. I mean,
Yeah, but
Sonny got banned.
But Parler is just a
I
should have seen that
account.
coming the second he started talking about fraud, which didn't happen. That's when he should have been like,
wait. Sonny's still on Twitter.
Are...
Sonny's not banned yet.
Oh, and for Warlock said Sonny was banned?
Yeah,
that's when
his Twitter account.
Yeah,
I mean,
he should have seen. He should have seen the frickin'. He should have seen the signs on the wall. He should have just seen it. He was just.
No, he's not banned.
Can we just admit? Can we just admit?
He got Game of Thrones. He got Game of Thrones.
They can come after Parler too. I mean,
Parler.
They will because Parler.
It's owned by an owner of Cambridge Analytica. Our only chance is a decentralized platform, I believe,
Trump
because
has to make his
any
own
corporation,
Twitter. Trump has to make his own
money
Twitter.
can buy it.
Trump and Elon Musk together have to make their own.
But the problem, Jules, is that
Jesus Christ.
No, you're right. Like BitChute, Parler, Gab, they don't have the material resources. But further than that, it's becoming the media is really the demon because they create the perception like basically Parler and Gab are like the like one is the alt-right, whoever, all three of them, and the other one is like the normie BoomerCon containment center Skinner boxes. That's what Parler is effectively going to be because they don't have not just the material but the memetic resources to really become like the next rival to Twitter or there will never be a rival to Google or YouTube or whatnot, right? So it's just
I think
the problem.
what Lev was saying earlier is smart. Is that we have to actually like meet and talk to people that we know.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'm not talking about the suburbs.
Best avenue.
I mean, look.
Yeah,
suburbs aren't bad.
Just everyone.
We live in fucking New York City, by the way, Jules and I, and people live close to other urban centers where there are people who would, let's say, be pillars of the community. If we are talking about doing actual organization here, which I think is possible, without it being this, we're going to suit up and we're going to be like these, this resistance. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about gathering together with people, talking with them about exactly the same shit we're talking about right now, because that is not done. And I think that is also something we're doing here at BTR virtually, because we are not just an echo chamber. Not just an echo chamber. No, sir. We are talking with people who would disagree with some of the things that are being brought up here through the virtue of me knowing people through New York City, Jules, all you guys. You all know people that you could bring on here and talk and go to decentralized platforms and talk. And also another very important thing for us to do when we do meet physically is not bring up triggers regardless of whatever we happen to think. Not bring up these things that people have been programmed to associate with, like fuck Trump, fuck anything. Don't worry about any of these words and symbols and archetypes right now. Throw all of that out right now. That's not the point. The point is that you got to concentrate on the danger of what's happening right now with Chinese influence, okay? And you could say, like, I love Biden. I love everybody. I love Trump. I love Biden. Well, no, I don't care about anybody that strongly. Everybody's great. I don't care. But let's focus
Wait till my
on
Biden
China.
painting comes out next week.
Yes.
You're gonna see some...
Let's focus on China, censorship, all this stuff that we can all agree is pretty bad, unless you have, like, a heart made out of stone here. I think that's
Where's Jack Ma? Where's Jack Ma?
Exactly. Where is Jack Ma?
He's not alive.
I think we need to celebrate disagreement with each other. I think you're absolutely right about talking to each other, because we're getting to this point where people are afraid to disagree. They're afraid to disagree with their tribe. They're afraid to disagree with the media. There are official narratives that you're no longer allowed to disagree at all with. And we're all stuck in our houses because of Corona right now. And you made a good point earlier about how we only know what we take in through information. And right now we take in all of our information from all the news. Everything happening in the world is just coming from these little boxes that are very tightly controlled, where the messaging is controlled. And this is the goal of the Democratic Party. They started with Clinton, Telecommunications Act of 1996, to consolidate media control, to consolidate narrative control, the same way that we've done overseas for all the coups we did in Latin America. Obama was behind the Arab Spring. Like what we're seeing here is eerily similar to what we've seen happen to democracies all across the world for the last 60 years.
There is also a reversal of that, though, which is interesting, where you have communities on Twitter, like a lot of the very online communities, that because they don't have access as much to a lot of the people that would, at least among their social circles, consider them to be, like these online weirdos or whatever, these esoteric online weirdos, because there's no connection there, I think that there is also a tendency among all of us to have echo chambers of our own, where there are certain pieces of information that we either disregard or consider it to be something that we lump into a particular category. And it's troublesome because it doesn't help with reaching out to other people, because you're not even giving them a chance. You're not even giving them a chance to see things from their perspective.
Yeah, we can't learn anything without disagreement. If I just talk to people that agree with me, I'm going to live in my echo chamber and I'm going to lock in on views, whether they're right or wrong. And I'm never going to learn anything new.
Guys,
I'm not listening to people that disagree.
I don't know if you saw, but 4 minutes ago, Google's officially suspended Parler from the Google App Store. It's gone.
Parler just got suspended,
isn't it?
Google has just suspended Parler.
Yeah, guys, I'm telling you, they're coming hard. Like this
Somebody
is
bring a towel. No good.
Is the boy King still on Twitter? I can't. Is he
Are
on
you referring to?
Is who on?
Mr.
Wait,
Nicholas?
no.
Mr.
It's so
Nicholas?
Oh my God.
Nikola Tesla?
We are losing the
Nikola
ability.
Tesla.
Look, all right, I'm going to read this statement from Google. In order to protect user safety on Google Play, our longstanding policies require apps displaying user-generated content have moderation policies and enforcement that removes egregious content like posts that incite violence. All developers agree to these terms, and we have reminded Parler of this clear policy in recent months. We're aware of continued posting in the Parler app that seeks to incite ongoing violence in the US. We recognize that there can be reasonable debate about content policies and that it can be difficult for apps to immediately remove all violative content. But for us to distribute an app through Google Play, we do require that apps implement robust moderation for egregious content. In light of this ongoing and urgent public safety threat, we are suspending the app's listing from the Play Store until it addresses these issues. It's done.
Wow.
Look how they're
It's done.
framing this shit, man. Public safety.
Well, hello.
They're coming, dude. But
Early
the last is coming. He's
2000s
gonna break into your house
terrorism?
and kill you.
It's over. It's over. I'm sorry. It's done.
Do they think
Yeah,
9/11 can happen on the internet or something?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that
No, it
what-
did.
No, they
No,
do.
9/11 did
They are-
happen on the
they
internet.
are-
It's called
no, no.
Gamergate. That was
They are-
9/11.
See how they're lumping in.
Just-
See how they're lumping in
actually gonna say this
Gamergate into
earlier.
all of these? I've noticed a lot of
Yeah, of
posts from
course.
It all
normies.
goes back to Columbine, really, if you think
Yeah,
about it. The first school shooting, Columbine. So
Yeah.
in a
I was
way,
gonna say this earlier.
Really, you have
Not
to go all
even
the way back
funny.
to
That's
Aristotle,
that humor is
if
just
we're
not even
really doing this.
funny here.
Like-
Let Sam Hyde do that. It's just not even.
No. But what Pill Eater means, that was the first public school shooting to be like in the public consciousness, and from there it was like the justification to graft on a lot of like political, whether it was like gun control or metal or what was the other thing they went
Marilyn
after?
Manson.
yeah,
Yeah,
all
Marilyn-
punk rock is
I
violent.
think they went after
They
the
wanted to
internet
go
as
for
well
video
back
games
in the
too.
day.
Video games.
Video
They went
games,
after
yeah.
GTA. Yeah.
Doom. Remember Doom? Yeah.
Doom. Exactly.
They went after
It's the
Doom.
Afghanistan war all over again, too. If you
Yeah.
guys remember back then, if you disagreed, look at Chris Hedges,
You're
Pulitzer
terrorists.
Prize-winning journalist overseas. He disagrees with the Iraq war, fired from the New York Times. They ran him out of
Yeah.
10 town for 10 years. Like it's that all over again, but worse now.
That's how he founded
so much
Truth
more
Dig.
captured.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was after he. You know what's funny? I know that
They're all
Chris Hedges.
potential school shooters.
In the school computers, yeah. So
Guys,
it's
we're all potential school shooters. But sorry, Diego.
So is the humans of flat art style going to become the new socialist realism and all
Yes,
that
it
deviates
already is.
from it?
Socialist realism. Already
Well,
is.
yes. I mean, are those that will deviate from it going to be even to a greater extent ostracized?
Yes.
And I might add in music, those of us that are formalists that aren't composing in a minimalist style of neo-tonality, the sort that you hear in all these insipid advertisements. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The Glassian arpeggiation.
Arvo
Those
Part?
of us Arvo Part, yes. Those of us that are closer to, say, Alban Berg or Max Reger, are we going to be sent to gulags like Alexander Mosolov was, or threatened with being sent to gulags? Like
they're
Philip,
going to Eli Schiff.
I don't know. Oh yeah, Gio, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like I don't know if you've talked to Eli Schiff, but he basically
We had
got
him on the show.
depersoned.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we had him on the show. We had a whole sewing
No,
discourse
but like
with
just
him
like
talking about that.
Philip, like Eli Schiff basically he runs the Humans of Flat account. He got banned repeatedly. He basically got depersoned in the
and had
artistic
contracts
community.
ripped from him.
Yeah,
in the designer
like literally depersoned. Okay,
Yeah.
like he lost so much business, just because he made fun of an art
Uber.
style.
Yeah, and Uber.
That's
and he basically
attacked
bodied
Uber.
their design team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my chromatic harmonies and dense counterpoint are surely going to get me sent to some frozen wasteland.
There's
nothing wrong with Cal Arts. I'm just saying. Nothing wrong with being.
Oh, here we go.
Based.
The fucking weeb says there's nothing wrong with Cal.
I thought
that would be a great shirt, by the way, to have. Like for our BTR store, for our merch, we should have a shirt that says "There's nothing wrong with Cal Arts."
I think I'm like the only one in here that like is promoting Cal Arts as like an alternative reactionary lifestyle, but everyone is like in vehement disagreement with me.
What do you mean alternate? What do you mean
no, but I would
alternative?
love to hear that.
Like
well,
Blobby and Friends is actually racist. We just haven't unlocked the truth yet. Like no, I don't know if you're ready to hear that, but I'm just saying.
You're talking about the Blobfish comic, right?
Yeah. Like,
oh my god.
And they're like actually my friends in real life, but they're just like paused. But the problem is one day we're just gonna tell them break the rules, and then they're gonna snap.
Well, I'm hopefully in the new year I will try to convince Eli to work on a book with me on Humans of Flat Design. But I wanted to read this thread from my good friend Egg Report on Twitter. He said, okay, so the President of the United States of America serves an important role in their society as the catalyst or mirror, a black slate every citizen can look and see their own reflection in to facilitate a perpetual state of universal pathological narcissism. Free university, healthcare, free guns, free Hitler for everybody. Whatever you want, you get. You just look at the president's face and the imago and see whatever you goddamn want to see. It's a sort of modern equivalent of a more primitive society's religious figures in times of religious ceremony at its peak, like celebrating solstice, but through the immense power of industry. This runs continually and permanently at 24 hours, 24/7 a day, 365 days a year. The communal aspect is minimal, and the setup provides for a personalized experience. A priestly caste known as journalists serve various practical functions in facilitating the running of the ritual, the mirror, but to have in recent years been made superfluous and are now causing a schism, attempting to reform into separate organization to avoid losing their social, political, and economic gains, worldly treasures, and the like. In this turmoil, several distinct groups are attempting to fill in the vacuum of now schism class, the structure, media firms, social media platforms, various Silicon Valley companies are all scheming to seize as much power and palace influence as possible in this turmoil. The ritualized shift of all sacred virgin to become the next mortal vessel for the president has thus been distributed and distorted. Three general factions, the president, the former priestly caste, and the new pretenses to the caste are in direct conflict. This has distributed the power of the fundamental core ritual, which everyone else runs to maintain. What do you mean I won't get $2,000 a month? What do you mean I won't get free college, free Hitler? What do you mean? I'm declaring war on Iran, whether you like it or not. There is a great disorder under the heavens, the social fabric and the certainty of our ascension, the promise of my ascension, of my personal superiority is threatened. Only time will tell whether the new version to serve as sacrifice of the presidency will fill this vessel, will perform his task well, and whether the competing palace factions have established a pecking order that secures stability to continually maintain the sacrifice ritual. So what we're seeing, yeah, that's a powerful threat, in my opinion.
Gio, who was it was saying before? Someone was saying before about like religion like being gone and then politics replacing it. The way that guy describes it makes it sound like just like makes that crystal clear in my mind. Like I thought it before, but just the way that's described is like that's definitely a very like religious way of describing politics to me, at least to me.
And we have a tweet also from Prog Rock Farmer, which is Nicolo Salo, who runs Salo Forums. I just finished reading Carl Schmitt, and he says, okay, I just read Carl Schmitt, and he says that all of you should shut the fuck up right now.
I refuse to be quiet. I wish to make mindless noise. How do you deal with that?
Fuck you. Boy. No, but yeah, you're right. I feel that there are competing factions here, and I think that now the media class is really taking a jibe at the official old guard institutions. It's really it's something else.
Taking a jab, they joined them.
Yeah, they
joined. It's one big group, my friend.
They've joined
the Blue Empire.
Yeah.
Can I talk to you guys about the word socialism for a second? Because
Tom, that's when the government does stuff, right?
I know. Entertain this idea. Because our society
socialism is when AOC says got it.
I want to make the argument that Trump is much more of a leftist than anything you're going to see out of the Democratic Party right now. And there is this smear happening because Donald Trump is the one advocating for a much higher payout for regular Americans. Donald Trump is the one advocating for breaking up monopolies like the tech companies. Donald Trump is the one that's advocating for ending the wars. Donald Trump has been pushing leftist policy, except the smear is against the left and using this word socialism to rowel up a part of the right, while what the left is actually doing is authoritarianism through gender diversity, and like they'll put a gender diverse person in charge of the torture program or something. Like, oh, progress. What's happening is it's the same thing on the right. The right is the only place that's really left where there's an anti-war movement left, that there are a championing of personal liberties and a bunch of other things. But the left is so propagandized that they think that the right is just white supremacy. And that's what they think it is. And the same thing is happening on the right with the left, where they're actually calling Joe Biden and these Democrats socialists, when what the Democrats are trying to do is totalitarianism. They are trying to do mass censorship. They're not trying to give away money. We spent $20 trillion as a government this year. $20 trillion. That's the entire economy that our government spent this year. They didn't spend it on the people. People are in more trouble than ever before. And you look at homelessness. Let's just take a quick issue for how easily that any kind of real leftist policy could solve something like this. There's 500,000 homeless people living on the streets of the United States. Look at the last stimulus bill. It was the skinny stimulus bill. If you just took 6% of that corrupt skinny bill, you could provide $100,000 worth of housing funding or mental health funding for every single homeless person in America for 6% of the small bill. We spent $20 trillion this year. It is a capitalist totalitarian system on the left and is smeared as a socialist regime, which is completely fake for Biden because it's actually Trump that has been much more leftist than any of the Democratic Party. Does anyone have a pushback on that? Does anyone agree?
I do. Well, I have a slight pushback.
Please.
So if we're talking about the homeless population, while something like that may temporarily alleviate the problems for some of them, the unfortunate situation right now is that because of decisions made during, I believe it was Reagan's administration, and other laws that have been passed, which could be looked at, and I do partially look at them as good laws, where you can't force somebody into a mental institution like they used to do in the USSR for government dissidents, but that's another story. You have a situation where there are homeless people that want to be outside and that also have mental problems and are going to unfortunately keep living that way. So that's like, it's not a problem that I could see money as necessarily being the solution here, unless we're talking about some giant proactive effort to look at every single one, like determine like, should we actually, for their own good, keep them in a certain environment, and then that gets into legal issues with civil rights and things of that nature. So I'm not really sure how to solve that.
Okay, let me respond to that just real quick, because I'm not even saying I have a solution to homelessness, but we are going to go to millions of people homeless on the street this year, and this problem is only going to get worse. So if we don't do something to address what's happening, we are looking at a catastrophe. And I just, the main point I just want to make is that it is trivial if we just had any sort of real messaging or any sort of political will. Take that $100,000 number I had, times it by 5. Let's say $500,000 of funding for every homeless person on the street. That's only a third of the skinny stimulus bill. I'm not arguing for giving $500,000 to all the homeless people, but it's this problem that is only going to get worse. That's only, like, do we really want more people living on the streets? And we're in this trap, because let me tell you about what's happening in LA. There is a judge that has ruled, the federal court judge, that police cannot arrest someone for being homeless on the street if there is no shelter. You can't arrest someone for being homeless. So their whole answer is to, okay, we're going to like put all this money into more shelters, and all the money just disappears. We're going to get caught in that same trap across the rest of the country. And I agree with you that many people on the street are there by choice. But according to our laws and our own judges, we can't actually even clean up our own streets. We can't do anything for these people if they'd have nowhere to go. So our only option is to provide some type of service, and all the money's there. It's $500,000 for every person on the street for 30% of the small bill. Just a tiny, like, pennies from what we've spent this year could fix the entire thing. And then once there's places for people to go, you could actually enforce the laws, because we have laws on the books to deal with this. But I live in Los Angeles. There's not a bridge in this city where there aren't homeless people living on the street. There is not a person in LA that isn't terrified when you walk outside right now, because these people are getting more desperate. Crime is going up because they're running out of money. More people are ending up on the street, so they're having to go after more intense crime. They're having to break into homes more and do more things to survive. And that's only going to get worse if we do something. And it is so trivial to fix it if you're talking about funding, because we've spent $20 trillion this year. So it goes back to what I said earlier. I don't believe in equal outcome at all. But in the richest country in the history of the world, I would like to at least say that when you come to this country, every American is at least above some kind of line. They don't have to have some great life for all the great technology or travel and all this other stuff. But I do highly believe that there's got to be a bottom line, and the Democratic Party and the left has no solution for this. They have only made every problem worse. Look at what the Democrats and Gavin Newsom have done to the state of California.
Oh, definitely. But there's another thing that we could focus on here, which is, I don't like this new view of people that I think is reflected in flat art, for example, which is like this, I don't know, these humans who live in habitats and like all of this isolated unit bullshit, where what about their families? What about their community? What about people who, should have been there in the beginning when they were first conceived into this world, that would have been able to take care of them, as opposed to having these separate units? That's the root cause right there. You're not seeing this in the Jewish community. You're not seeing this in the Asian community. So we have to start making sure that all the communities out there are going to get to that same level. And that starts, I think, with, again, Grill Pill. I want to go back to that just for the sake of talking about how we used to have, among like the Freemasons, the Elks, all these different fraternal organizations and stuff. Like, we used to have these organizations where, I mean, they're still around, but they don't seem to be doing jack squat. But we used to have these organizations where the whole idea was, these are the pillars of the community, these are our local leaders who we respect because they have fucking honor, not because they're part of some political machine. And sure, political machines existed back then, of course. Like, look at New York City. If we're talking about, like, gangs of New York era, you know, Boss Tweed and shit like that. But at the same time, we also had actual, you know, leaders with faith in God and all that good stuff who were actually caring about the people and were able to make sure that all the community stayed together. Hotep Sophia, who I'm going to check in on her. I'm going to see what's going on because I would love for her to show up. Like, she is somebody who was talking to me about how back then in the black community in DC, there used to be all these churches that made sure that you wouldn't have these kids running around with gangs, that they would be taken care of, that there would be father figures, even if the father was not there, that there would be somebody who would be able to look out for them. And now she says that these churches have already been bought and sold, and there's a lot of corruption going on there. And again, I don't know if back in the day, I mean, look, back in the day there were tons of problems with drugs as well. I'm not even talking about the 80s. I'm talking about like the 1940s. You know, like there used to be problems there too, but suffice it to say, it was better when we had these pillars. These pillars are something that I think we can realistically build at the local level, and it doesn't even have to be machine politics. It doesn't even have to be anything having to do with the existing political structure. It could just be people out there. I'm talking to you right now. Give us some super chats right this second. Become a patron at patreon.com/breaktherules, because you are the people. Right now, I'm talking to all you people out there who do have some financial way of helping grow this thing. You are the people who could actually help build the future instead of using that money for God knows what. So this is an appeal of the soul. This is an appeal of the heart, whatever you want to call it. I think it is possible to get to these people and start rebuilding some new, upper crust that actually is going to go back to the people and make sure that their societies are not going to be shitholes.
So basically, a summary of that is subscribe, and super chats, and donate to the Patreon. That seems to be the gist of that. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Also, percolators. We want you to show your perks. So if you got a print from Geo, if you've got a magnet from Lev's dad,
hell yeah.
Once I send out the figurines, we want you to post those things in the chat when we're live. We want to tweet you guys holding up your BTR stuff, you know.
And I'm also
this
quite
is even
happy
before
to
doing merchandise.
I'm quite happy to like add to something to the $50 pot. I don't know what I'd add, but I'm quite happy to like. That's an idea. I don't know what I'd do. So you'd have to talk to me more.
The ideal,
that would be huge. Yes.
Would be, what if we create like a figure out of you as the blue man, and then Jules paints it?
Well, I was more thinking of something that I would actually add to that. I mean, you can do something like that. That'd be cool. But I'm thinking something that I do some online bullshit. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Like I can add something.
Let's talk. Let's talk in the Discord after stream. Let's talk in the Discord.
Yeah, definitely.
And we are going to be going all out as far as these decentralized networks. You know, I want to get on all of them because right now is the time. We got to get on all tech. And Philip Daniel, I really want to thank you for coming on as well today. You are a newcomer to the stream, but I love your energy, and I would love to know more about music. I would love to have another music stream coming up. And can you tell us any final thoughts that you have about what we discussed today?
First of all, thank you for having me on. Second of all, I'm not very optimistic about the future politically. But even as we find ourselves increasingly repressed in the political sphere, I believe that we have a chance to bring about a renaissance in the arts. So I'm a little more optimistic in that regard.
Oh, no. I was just asking you for any final thoughts, and I guess that would be that would be the final thought. Do you have, by the way, any social media? Because I just put on Philip Daniel. Is there anywhere else that people can find you at?
Well, I have my YouTube channel, a Patreon account. I have a published OX blog, but I haven't touched that in a while. I do not have a Twitter. I have a Discord account, of course, but no, I don't really use much social media. I do have an Instagram account where I just post my compositions.
Well, I would love to share that with everybody. What is the Instagram account?
Give me a moment. I'll link it, actually.
Excellent. You could put it in the chat there. And
with my
And for everybody else here, let us go to another newcomer today, Conscious Moss, aka the Lioness, aka Nala. So, but by the way, why are you called Conscious Moss? What's going on there?
It's a secret. I can't.
Okay. All right, fine.
You say it's like a secret to make it mysterious, but it sounds like one of those randomly generated like 2-word
And that
things.
may and you may be correct. That's
Well, I may be correct, but not necessarily.
Exactly. And you just never know.
I never know. That is definitely that, isn't it? But okay, we'll keep it a secret.
Don't call me out like that.
We'll keep it a secret.
Okay, yeah, keep it a secret.
Yeah.
So, and also, I like your avatar. Is that from Naruto or what anime?
Yes. Haku from Naruto.
I haven't watched Naruto yet, but Verse
One
has
of the
been
best
adamant.
arcs.
Verse has been adamant about me watching Naruto, and like a condensed version, like there's like a fan version that somebody made. So that is what I'm going to be watching. And let's see what else. Metaphor Man, you've been with us for the entire time. I really appreciate you, buddy. Any final thoughts? Metaphor Man,
He's
are
just
you there?
chilling, man.
He's just chilling. Okay,
just
that
chilling.
is
Metaphorically here.
Yes.
Do you think if we
that's a good
survived the
one.
purge that we're good by now, or I don't know? What do you guys?
No.
No?
I'm still
No, you're
watching.
definitely not
I'm
good by
still
now.
watching mutuals get nuked.
Yeah.
Do you think if
It could be
we
any moment
survive by
for any of us.
tomorrow, then they've because it seems that all these ban waves
Well,
they do it like all at once, and they like it
so
takes
apparently, one of the flight attendant unions just asked to ban the insurrectionists from flights, and the House Homeland Security Committee is now asking the FBI and TSA to add the perpetrators to the no-fly list.
Oh my god. No,
What did
but
they think that was
on
gonna
Twitter,
happen?
I don't know if I'm safe. I've lasted this long. I mean, I just broke 8K follows.
You were simply a humble painter. That's all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gonna have to.
Yes.
We're all gonna have to become like esoteric aesthetics accounts in order to stay
So
on Twitter.
apparently, Classic Theist and other people like Entrepreneur Val, they're nuking their tweets. I wonder if does that really change anything, or I don't know.
I don't really think so. I think
It
I think
can change things if people are like, if they haven't mass reported one of your tweets, but they're going to, that can help. But
Yeah, I think maybe I should delete my because Movie Bob got me like on The Sopranos, like they say I've been made, like the FBI,
Yeah.
like when Tony
You were
I'll-
made,
I'll-
Gio.
Yeah, so I'll probably delete that one. It's a really good fucking tweet too. I'll screen cap it, then I'll delete it.
We're
Holy
getting rid of
shit.
all of our best work.
It's no, but why would they report it? It's not an offensive tweet in any way. Like it doesn't say any gamer words.
makes them Movie Bob feel is
I'm
bad,
sure you
Gio.
offended
That's it, Gio.
someone, Gio.
What?
I'm sure it offended someone, Gio, and that's all that matters.
Movie Bob is Q.
Gio, you are forgetting that your mere existence is offensive to people like the movie Blob. You are headed for obsolescence. You are, what is the term he uses? Well, he calls his political opponents obsolete. But what is the other term he uses? I can't quite recall. But
Troglodytes, I think he called them.
Chuds?
Does he call his opponents troglodytes? It sounds more like an Arthur Chu thing, but I guess, I mean,
Yeah, he does
the
trogs,
movie
yeah.
Blob, the movie Blob does believe in eugenics. He just believes in it, that eugenics, the principle of eugenics has been ruined by the wrong side. Well, the obviously wrong side of people, but he is, again, like Arthur Chu, he's one of those whom guys where morality is contingent on your tribe.
Philip, did you send your social your Instagram into the chat?
I did. I linked it in the chat, but I'll link it again. I linked my YouTube.
in the Zoom chat.
Yeah,
it's in the Zoom chat.
Yes, they're both in the, also in the YouTube chat, but I linked them
here. I'm gonna post it in the YouTube chat so that everybody could see it right now. I'm just gonna put attention on it so that everybody knows it is right here. So
I
here
could
you
use
go.
a few more subs and a few more patrons.
Yes. Philip, please.
Most of my patrons right now are actually real life friends. They're actually people I know in real life, and will probably be horrified at my political opinions. But
wait, did no one post this picture because it looks kind of like you got a similar hair, similar curly? Is that
Movie Bob?
No, that's.
I was like, is this some sort of ancient Movie Bob photo?
No, that I believe that guy is Koresh, David Koresh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, my bad.
So guys, we
I'm just overdue for a haircut.
No,
Yeah.
you got a nice fro growing there. So anyway, guys, I believe this is it. This is the end. Oh wait, by the way, who is that guy in your shirt with the thunderbolts?
This is Jimmy Dore. He's probably the only real leftist we have left.
The only leftist left. Interesting.
I mean, if you want to talk about if there is a leader of the type of left that you guys hear me talking about today, the only one we have left is really Jimmy Dore, Nico House, and Convo Couch. There's only one leftist channel on YouTube that's been looking into election integrity and what's been happening in this election. That like the left is destroyed right now. There is no left movement in this country, and we are now forced to gather under a comedian as kind of our leader at the moment, because the left really is that fractured and it is that bad.
Jules, let's combine our two fingers together and do one of those fusion.
Dragon Ball Z,
things.
baby. Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Z. Yo, I just realized we were talking about haircuts that Lev has the same exact haircut as Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men.
Where's my gas thing or whatever that was? That was a very nifty looking
coin.
The compression.
Toss the
The compression hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was a good
Back
movie.
in the day,
And
they used sledgehammers.
Good ass movie.
Oh,
and
God.
very different from the book. I still have to read the book. From what I know, it should be very different from the book. And yeah, Coen Brothers genius. I really love that Coen Brothers movie I saw recently again about like the 1920s mafia people. It was called Miller's Crossing. Jules, have you seen that?
That's such a good movie. I love that movie. That's not one of their more popular films. It's so good.
Definitely. Yeah, and I also saw Barton Fink recently as well. I like
love
that one
Barton
too.
Fink. Barton Fink's
Yeah.
one of my favorite ones.
Was
That
John
one's so
Goodman
weird.
supposed to be like the devil or just a devilish type of presence?
You know, it's been a while since I watched it to do a film.
Oh yeah,
school
we shouldn't
analysis
spoil.
of it.
We shouldn't
I just
spoil
remember
for those
Barton
who.
Fink. Yeah, I just remember Barton Fink trying to write a screenplay and just constantly being distracted.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and
watch it again.
Kind of like a David Lynch film.
Mhm.
It felt a little bit like a David Lynch film.
I could see that. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I think we have had a very interesting discussion today, but this is just the beginning. Like I said before, we want to bring in people who have a different opinion from all of us. And I think all of us, even though we agree on certain things, I think within the nuances, we disagree on certain things too. And that's a beautiful thing. That's the way it should be. I mean, Gio, you and I disagree on Russia, and I'm sure Jules and I disagree on certain things. Tom, Pill Eater, Apex, Remus, Metaphor Man. But that is the only way that we can actually gain wisdom, is through being able to test what we know and discuss it. And I think that is going to open the door for people to realize that if you guys are correct and things are going into a much more totalitarian direction, not just with Trump, but as far as what would happen to just regular folks who happen to be supporting him, supporting his slogans, then time will tell exactly what that's going to look like. But for all the people out there who would want people to be free to express whatever they believe in, even if they disagree with that, for all those people, and I'm sure there are many people out there who hated Trump's guts entirely, and those are the people who I need to come on BTR right now, because those are the people who have to stand with us and make sure that this does not turn into a totalitarian state. And with that said, I bid all of you guys adieu. We are going to come back on Tuesday with Jessica DeLoach, who was Pete Buttigieg's husband's assistant, and she was working on his campaign, and Alex Forrest. And Alex Forrest, we had him on the show before, a great guy. We are going to be talking about infrastructure, but I think it's going to be also a wider theme of just American excellence can we return back to it as far as being able to create things, being able to move things around in a much more efficient way, faster, better, stronger, and that is something that's very near and dear to me, and I'm sure to everybody here who wants this country to be a better place. And with that being said, farewell, guys. We will see you on Tuesday.
Good bless.
Subscribe.
God bless you
Subscribe on the
guys.
show.
Subscribe.
Guys, I
Thank you
appreciate
for
the
having me,
call.
everybody. I love you all.
Take care,
Peace,
everybody. I
guys.
love you
Black
all as well.
Never black pill.
Patreon.com/break-the-rules. There is no black pill. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.